Morning, 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 all. Morning. Good morning, Roxanne. Blessings to you as well on this Tuesday morning. Thank you for my brooms. We're sweeping from now until 2025. Yes, so keep your brooms handy always. Morning, Rena. Shedley Jimenez, morning to you. Rukmin Gangadine, good morning, Rukmin. Teresa Francis, morning. John Edwards, morning to you. Alberta Sampath, morning. Morning, Denise. Lisa Atwater, morning Lisa. Pauline Buckmeyer, morning Pauline. Terence, morning Gerald Pascal, morning to you. Lucille Ford, morning Heather. Good morning Neil, always present. Debbie Markey, morning Alberta. Leon Graves, morning. Marilyn McAllister, morning. J Dimples, morning to you. Gaylan, morning. All the way from Canada. Has it started snowing in Canada yet, Gaylan? Cyril Mayas, morning. See. Morning, Diane. Joy Raghunan, morning, Joy. Kenneth Gabriel, morning to you. Good morning to His Excellency, the President of Pleasantville. Nigel O'Connor, First Lady Mauricia Keegan, Laverne Brown, morning. Dish, morning. Morning, Carol. Annette Hunt, morning to you. Yes, Jeremy, we are live. Hey, Carrington, morning. Morning, Arlene. A peaceful day to you as well. Alison Boyce, morning, Alison. Annette Hunt, morning to you. Jennifer Dorset. Gemma Alexander, Jenny Joseph, morning. Turn this off. Okay, great. Patricia Lazari, morning. Earl Turpin, morning, sir. Phyllis Sparrow, morning, morning. No snow as yet, okay. Proud to be Trini, morning. I'm supposed to be going to Vancouver next year, Guyana, sometime in around June. Always wanted to go to Vancouver, so yeah, we'll see how that goes. I know it's a really, really nice place to visit. The scenery, nature is, yeah, so looking forward to that. Deborah Edgehill, morning. Maria Lyons, morning, Maria. Lucy Brown, morning to you as well. So good. Never a shortage of things to talk about. You could talk about everything today and rest assured by tomorrow, you have a full plate. So let me see something here. Where to start? All right. Right. So I see where to start by. All right, there. So I see the issue of the one of the issues the Prime Minister would have raised, putting in the presidential workout. Very good, sir. Very good. I know Christmas coming up. That's your season, you know, and Marcia, hopefully I can catch some event that you all are at. You know, it's been a while. What else we have here? Right. Yeah. So as we would recall last week Thursday when the Prime Minister made his had his press conference, one of the issues he would have raised he raised many issues, but the one that has gotten the most traction was his admonition of the DPP for not occupying the building on Park Street, for which $55 million was paid. And the DPP refused to use the building on account of he didn't feel the building was safe enough. Proximity to the road, wanted a wall and a fence or whatever it is, which was wholly impractical. Even if the landlord was inclined to do that, even if the government was inclined to accede to that request, it was wholly impractical. For those of us who know Park Street and know that building, know that the building is practically on the pavement. So if you were to put up a wall or a fence there, it would take up the entire pavement. So, you know, as I would have mentioned before, the current building, the building itself has a courtyard, which is some way so there's the guard courtyard, and then the building is a little away from the street. So you have whatever. So that building is practical, but you're not gonna find too many buildings like that available in Port of Spain for rent that would satisfy the requirements of the current DPP. Nevertheless, so he remains where he is. His department remains where it is. $55 million less in the coffers of the state that they could have gone to doing so many other things. But I see a number of persons, of men and women of letters, coming out to speak on this issue and calling for probe. And it was a scandal, and it's and claims that the landlord is a P&M financier. I think that claim was made by Afra Raymond. Many of you may know who Afra Raymond is. He knows anything real estate. Rest assured, just mention real estate, government rented real estate, and Afra Raymond will appear. He did in fact take issue with Eden Gardens, where the former People's Partnership Administration would have paid $175 million for land valued at 52, and based on his assessment, they could have used through eminent domain. They didn't have to pay any money at all, or at the very least $34 million, but 175 was paid. I find it interesting that Mr. Raymond has, well, at least I haven't seen it already, has not made any pronouncement on the missing $789 million worth of housing. To me, that is a much bigger scandal. But as I said, maybe he commented on it and I didn't see it, but the media sought to highlight the issues he has taken with the rental of that, what was formerly the RBC building, claiming that there was massive fraud and so on. And the Minister of Public Administration, that department, that ministry is responsible for government real estate and so on, had a press conference, or she was speaking to some meeting yesterday, and she had to correct the record, and she would have pointed out a number of inaccuracies in Mr. Raymond's statement in terms of the square footage that the government rented. In fact, it was double the amount that he claimed. So the cost per square foot that he gave was also incorrect based on what the minister has said. And so, as I said, she had to correct a number of inaccuracies, and she had to basically pull it up and tell him in future, when it is that you all want to criticize, get your facts straight first now. Come to us, ask us for the information before you just go out there and make a pronouncement and put things out in the public domain to create talking points for people. And this has become a talking point. I saw former head of the public service, Reginald Dumas, is also calling for a probe. And I saw several other people as well. And I'm saying, are we living in the twilight zone? Where was the call for the probe for the 53 million? At least we could see the building on Park Street. We know where it is. You could go and stand up and watch the building. You could touch the building, feel the building. Where the building in Barataria? Anybody could tell me? I'm still looking for it. I went up 12th Street, down 12th Street, across 12th Street. I stopped people on 12th Street to ask them, and nobody could tell me where the building is. Right? Nobody could tell me. So up now we're still looking, but $53 million gone just so. And it surprises me that you have persons who are part of that administration have plenty to say on the rental of the building on Park Street. But when it comes to the 53 million spent on the building in Barataria, they have nothing to say. In fact, they claim that they don't even know about it. But it's right there on page 36 in the 2016 Auditor General's report. It is noted in the 2012 Auditor General's report, the 2013 report, the 2014 report, the 2015 report, and 2016 report. Every year, the Auditor General would have highlighted that. And as I mentioned to you all before, it is the only issues that find their way in the Auditor General's report with respect to such matters is when the Auditor General is dissatisfied with how these matters are being treated with. They would have sent a management letter to the respective ministry asking for explanation, and where the explanation contravenes regulations, financial regulations, it would find its way. So for all those years, it was there. So I don't know if it is all these men and women of letters who want to come out now and ascribe allegations of corruption on the part of the government with respect to the rental of that building on Park Street if they don't look at the Auditor General's report. And the building in Barataria, as I told you all, is just one example of several examples of buildings that were rented by them 2010 to 2015, for which the buildings, there was no value because the buildings were never used. Rental and rent was paid, but the buildings were never even outfitted. They made no effort to use the buildings. At least the building on Park Street was outfitted. There's a big sign in front that says Office of the DPP. So everything was there. The building was prepared. It was outfitted. It has furniture. It has everything. It was just for the DPP staff to pick up their Jahaji bundle and walk from, well, amount to walk. But just say, walk from Richmond Street and walk across the Park Street and choose your office, choose your space, and start to work. That was all. But all these other buildings mentioned in the Auditor General's report that was rented by that former administration, never outfitted. So even if the public servants wanted to use it, they couldn't. For years, the whole rental period, the whole lease period of 3 years, no effort, no attempt whatsoever was made to outfit these buildings so that public servants could occupy. But the rent money gone. Nobody ain't called for no probe for that. The evidence is still there. They could go back to any of these Auditor General's report and pick one and say, we want a probe into that. They ain't calling for no probe. But just because this one, Prime Minister talked about it and it was highlighted, so they want probe, and the claim is the landlord was a PNM financier. So it had bubble in that. So the next thing you hear, that's how they pay for Balize house. All right, it come in just now. If it hasn't been said already, it would be. Yeah. But we ain't going for no probe for those others, right? We had a whole building, number 1 Alexandra Street, for which the UNC made a big hullabaloo before they came into office. Before they came into office in 2010. When that building was rented in 2009, December of 2009. We make out in Paris. And the PNM and Paris connected to the PNM and Paris this and Paris that and all of that. They came into office. When they came into office, the building had only been rented for 5 months. They could have ended the lease, pay whatever penalty, and it wouldn't, that whatever penalty they would have paid certainly would not have been anything close to what it is they eventually ended up paying. 43 million in rent, $120 million to outfit the building, and $5 million for security. To guard a building, an empty building. All they were securing was the echo in the building, nothing else. Right? All that money spent, and for 5 years, 3 months, and 14 days, the building was never used. It was there to be used and was never used. They went and rent buildings, office space in other places, and you have a whole empty building that you could have used, right? Never used it. But they went, while you're renting number 1 and it's unoccupied, you went in 2012 December to ask, your right to the owner of number 1 to ask him if you could rent number 3. And number 1 empty, but you want to rent number 3 to house the CPO's office, which is the very building, right? The very building which the CPO is in today. And who they wanted to rent it from? The same Paris. Or they make a whole set of old talk Paris want to give Paris family and how much money Paris family collecting every year and every month and all of that. But you all wanted to put more money in Paris father-in-law pocket in 2012. Moonilal wrote to Zaman Enterprises in December 2012. But like they forget that. But nobody ain't calling for no probe as to why they didn't use the building. Have we ever gotten an explanation from any official of that administration as to why they never used number 1 Alexandra Street for 5 years, 3 months, and 14 days? As soon as this government came in, what did they do? They moved into the building. The Ministry of Public Utilities has been there since 2016, right? When the lease ended, and as I told you before, government lease, the standard period for a government lease is normally 3 years. So it means that they would have renewed that lease. Because if Mr. Manning took out, released the building in 2009, and when this administration came in, that lease would have come to an end sometime around June, July of 2016. From 2009 to 2016, 7 years. Government don't lease buildings for 7 years. So it means that the same, all the old talk, they talk about tenant, they would have renewed the lease, pay all that money, and then use the building. How come nobody, Mr. Dumas, calling for no probe into that? Why Giant ain't calling for probe into that? And all of them, I don't know, well, after Raymond, I don't know if he called for a probe. But why all in not calling for a probe? All in not concerned about that. 120 by 43 by 5. $168 million. So they ain't concerned about that. And no value for that. But apparently, you know what they say, under that party, less is more. So 55 million worth more than 168. So we're not concerned about the 168. Forget that. We're not concerned about the 123 with Eden Gardens. Forget that. So yesterday, the Minister of Public Administration would have announced that the government currently spends approximately $23 million a month renting office space. 23 million a month, right? So that works out about $276 million a year, over $250 million being spent to rent office space. And as she mentioned, the public service is very large and you need office space, and the government does not own sufficient real estate to accommodate all of these workers. And so therefore they have no choice. And given that most government offices, departments are based in Port of Spain, they are, and then you have to look at the rental rate. So what they are doing now, aside from building government real estate, state-owned properties to house public servants, they have now entered into a situation where they are negotiating with these landlords to reduce the rent that they are paying. And now is the best time for them to do that, because there are a number of buildings around Port of Spain that since this administration came in 2015, have been vacant. When the government decided to utilize government campus, which the People's Partnership left empty for 5 years, 3 months, and 14 days. When they came into office in 2010, the building was ready to be occupied. Well, not occupied. All they had to do was to outfit it and occupy. Do the same thing that the PNM did with less revenue. They boasted they had the highest energy revenues in the country's history. Highest energy revenues. But didn't outfit the building. Instead, you continue to pay hundreds of millions of dollars in rent every year. Went and rent additional buildings rather than outfit government campus and put public servants in there and reduce the rental bill, which this government has done. So when this administration came in, the annual rental amount of money the state was spending on rent was over $330-something million. This government has been able to cut that by over $60 million. So since 2016, 2017, thereabout come forward, we have been saving over $60 million a year. If you multiply that by 8, right, that's almost $500 million a year. Well, $500 million in the last 8 years of this administration has saved the country. That's $500 million less in the pocket of the so-called 1%. But they want to tell it the 1% own this administration, keep rolling the back pocket of the 1%. Can Mrs. Prasad Biseso or anybody from the PP come and tell us what did they do between 2010 to 2015 to reduce the government's annual rental bill? Anything that they did. Tell us, what did you do? A building that in San Fernando was supposed to house government offices, government departments, ministries that would have saved rent that was being spent in San Fernando, you convert that into a teaching hospital. But usually when you go inside, several floors empty, bare, that could have been used or should have been occupied by state departments, government ministries, empty. Yeah? And that made sense to them. Continue to pay rent to whoever in South. But no probe into those things, right? The building that currently houses the Ministry of Foreign and CARICOM Affairs in St. Clair, by the roundabout there. Those of you who remember how that building used to look between 2010 to 2015. Run down, beat out, old. It looked like it was a colonial relic. And I don't know if it is they had aspirations to make it, to let that building join its 7 siblings. And maybe they were hoping for the Magnificent 8 instead of the Magnificent 7. Because that building really looked like something out of the past, right? And for 5 years, 3 months, and 40 days, that was the Ministry of Agriculture. An embarrassment. They couldn't even put a coat of paint on the building. Looked terrible. Today, this administration refurbished that building, and it's a beautiful building now. Beautiful building. And when they came in 2015, 2016, the Prime Minister had announced the intention was to tear down the building and put up a hotel and get an international brand to come and run the hotel like Hyatt and Hilton. But you have another hotel right across the road, which is Kipok. And so that would have been competing with Kipok and so on. And I don't know, cabinet took a decision, they changed their mind, and they decided, let's just refurbish the building and make it into the Ministry of Foreign and CARICOM Affairs. And I can tell you, for those who don't live in or who don't work or live in the West and who wouldn't frequent that side, it is a very beautiful building. Every time I pass, I had a look at this. They did an excellent job. And the building is befitting the ministry that currently occupies it. But this administration did that. They did that. The UNC built a building in Shabonas on Nasalu Ramaya Road, I think is the name of the road. What was supposed to be the Ministry of Science, Technology, and Tertiary Education, the PNM did away with that ministry, and that building now houses the Ministry of Agriculture. So, less rental money paying out and so on. Yesterday, I was driving around Port of Spain, and again, I saw several moving trucks, transportation trucks, parked up on several streets outside 7 buildings, and these trucks had on them cabinets and furniture and so on, being packed to take to the Ministry of Health's headquarters around the savannah. So again, more space, more office space that was being rented for the past how many years is no longer being rented. And there's less money in the pocket of the so-called 1%. And the government saving money that can be spent on the citizenry. No applause for the government for that. No kudos for that. They wouldn't hold a Sunday morning press conference to tell the government, well done. Even though the same Anil Roberts, who was in the Sunday morning press conference on this weekend, he praised the new building, said it looks very nice. It's a rarity to give for this government to get any praises from Anil Roberts. But it's a very imposing building. It's a very nice building, the new Ministry of Health headquarters, for those who may not have seen it as yet. It's a large building, and I suppose it can house several different departments, so that is good. So all these little holes in the wall where the Ministry of Health was renting from. Your person, I didn't even know it had a Ministry of Health office there. Look at that. I didn't even know that. But now you know. As I say, if you didn't know, now you know. Passing these buildings every day and then realize that. But now they're moving into state-owned real estate and saving you, the taxpayers, money. So when I keep hearing people talking about, oh, it's bubble and corruption and the government wanted to thief money, and Mr. Raymond is he too is calling for a probe because he's saying that it's evident that there was some corruption there. I have told you all before, and I would repeat, if this administration, if this cabinet wanted to thief, there were ample opportunities for them to do so. The UNC, the People's Partnership, left them opportunities to thief on a platinum platter. There were so many projects which this government retendered. And it came in well below what the People's Partnership had proposed to spend on them. One of those projects alone, anyone would have made every member of the cabinet multi-millionaires. They didn't need to do a second or third term. One term would have been enough. The Curep interchange from $503 million proposed by the PP, 221 under the PNM. That $280-something million, the government could have simply say, you know what, we will tell the population that we did it for the 503. The UNC can't say, well, that is not the cost because that's what you all said. This is what we met. We met a proposed budget of $503 million to build the interchange. Budget of $503 million to build the interchange. So they could have built it, give it to the same contractor to do it for the 221 and keep the $280+ million and split it amongst the 23 of them. Right? That's what $10 million a piece. 23 members of cabinet, over $10 million a piece. They could have thief on that one project alone and relax. The Red House project, the UNC's budget was over $900 million. It came in at $441 under this administration. They could have thief there too if they wanted. I tell you all, President's House, $169 million was the PP's budget. PNM, $89 million. That's $80 million they could have thief. The UNC shut the doors of Napa, say that is a whole set of defects, and Lincoln Douglas told us it would cost upwards of $100 million to fix all the problems. This administration came in $20 million. So that's over $80 million. Again, they could thief so many opportunities. And the UNC couldn't say nothing because this is your budget. So if it is we, come now and we spend this amount of money, and you all come in to say, well, nah, it couldn't cost that. Well, then how you all arrive at that budget? So if it is, you're telling us that if it is, we didn't get into office, you all will not spend this amount. But that is what it is on paper. It is documented. This is the budget. This is the price that you all said it would cost. So all was planning to thief then. Had to be. All of these opportunities to thief, not one. And the government made it a point to come out and tell you the Arima Hospital, they could have thief on that too. The Point 14 Hospital, they could have thief on that too. The Point 14 Highway, they could have thief on that too. So many things. So many opportunities. And none. None. But yes, it's corruption and corruption. And yes, this government is the most corrupt it have. Really? Well, I could bet you if it was the other way around. Bet your bottom dollar, at least the PP was going to thief on at least one of those projects. Easy. We go in with the P&M budget, but we get in a contractor who could do it for less. Right? And we quote in the price that the P&M quote, and we thief in the rest. But this administration didn't do that. But every Sunday morning, all they want to accuse them. The most corrupt. They want to thief and they want to thief. And but the annual rental bill coming down, so the minister also mentioned yesterday that aside from renegotiating the rents with the landlords now, so that less money is being paid for rent, and I mean, the landlords are at the mercy of the state, because the government can simply say, well, if you don't want to play ball, not a problem. We will use the board system, and we will build our own real estate to house all of our ministries, and all you can keep all your building. Who are you getting to come and rent a building for what it is the state paying? Who you getting to come and rent a building from you for $500,000 a month? Which private sector entity going to do that? None. So it's either you all play ball, reduce your rent, or we find alternative accommodations. We will build our own and only keep all your building. And you all will collect rent from mice and spiders and cockroach. Yes, they will pay rent to live in your building because nobody else will rent it from you. And most of these buildings would have been constructed for the specific purpose of attracting state occupation. And that has been the norm for quite some time. But I point out to you, Nicholas, that blue glass building at the bottom of Abercrombie and Independence Road, not Nicholas Towers, it's Nicholas Court, I think is the name of it. For years, that building was occupied by customs. For years. For the last 7 years, it has been empty. No tenants. Signed for rent. No tenant. So it's a Nicholas and George Nicholas didn't collect one dime in rent on that building for the last 7 years. It's just there. For who to rent? Who going to rent it? Who need that? Which private sector entity needs that kind of space? Other than maybe a bank. You're not going to get anybody who's going to rent that building. So they need to come up with some creative way to change the use of that building somehow. Otherwise, it's just going to continue to stay there, real estate on the books, and it's not earning them any money. And you just need to continue. Go ahead. Go up Abercrombie Street, and you will see other spaces that was rented by the Ministry of Education, empty. Ministry of Health. That building at the corner of Queen and Edward Street, I think it is, where Board of Inland Revenue used to be. That was the BIR head office. BIR they have their own tower now on Ajax Street, 20-something floors. Plenty space. So that building there, empty. Not to be used. And BIR had other little offices, and Ministry of Finance had little offices around Port of Spain, all of which are now located in the tower. Thanks to the wisdom of the Manning administration, Vision 2020, now Vision 2030. Because they were far thinking. So long before all of what's happening now, they were already seeing we spending too much money in rent when we could be spending this money on government real estate, and we just need to have a proper maintenance program in place to ensure the buildings are well maintained. Even state-owned buildings, the building that previously was used, where the IRS was using some of that to the revenue office or something, that old building on Edward Street, and it goes across Treasury Street and then forget the name of the other street, yes, that is supposed to be refitted. and I think some arm of the TTPS is supposed to go there. So they're using the real estate that is owned by government to be able to save rent and continue to do so. And kudos to the government. But instead of all these people coming out to tell the government, well done, allegations, you will focus on one building and with your allegations of corruption and they want to thief and they're looking for money to build Balize House. So you see the UNC have the support. They have the support, right? So all the time Mr. Raymond sit down in a corner, he know about how the government saving on rent. No. But this one fiasco with this building is bubble and corruption because apparently Dr. Rowley told the DPP don't occupy the building. Yeah, Dr. Rowley did that. And now anyway. Permission to play a little bit more this morning, folks. Senator Jayanti Lakshmi permit me to expose again some of her hypocrisy. I already know and require any further evidence, but let me just play a little.
Senator John's presentation. Just want to know for the chance or the possibility to get a job in Guyana. They're not unemployed. You know, we've managed 3.7 unemployment and so on. So we're doing great. They're not unemployed. They're just looking for better opportunities. They're looking to better themselves. Does the fact that people are looking to get out of here to better themselves not register with this government as a problem? If your only chance to better yourself and seek a better opportunity is to rush a line and try to get out of here, does that not send off alarm bells that something is wrong? We have to do something about that. But what it has been presented in this budget to inspire any confidence that we will see a reduction in violent crime, the answer is nothing. You've come with a random announcement, 1,000 more police officers. We're still waiting on the 1,000 municipal police officers from some years ago. We hear we're getting body cameras for police because that will help us to boost confidence in the police service, which we know to be very low. And it affects people's willingness to collaborate with the police and provide, evidence and so on. I think they buy cameras and what chargers or something that they never connect it, so they say have no connectivity. It's non-functional. They allocate some money to buy new police vehicles. You can drive around, come down to Marabella. There's a scrapyard with hundreds of vehicles parked up, waiting to be repaired. You could just make an announcement of an allocation and decide that will solve the problem. If you buy the vehicles today, 6 months from now, some of them will be parked up in that same yard. No plan for the maintenance of our national security assets. None whatsoever. We had a boat, somebody bounced it, and it was a big secret. They sent it somewhere to fix and try to keep it under wraps as best they could. This is the state of our national security assets.
So just a couple of things there, right? Don't worry, just a minute or two more are gonna play out her, right? But just to address some of the things that she spoke about here with this job fair that they had a couple of weeks ago down at C3, where this company that has contracts in Guyana is looking for potential workers. And so they invited persons who may have certain skills and the like to come and fill out application forms and so on. So they could put them in the database. Because from what I understand, in Guyana, and I've heard this from a number of Trinidad and Tobago citizens who have gone to Guyana and have started businesses, particularly in the construction sector, that Guyana has most of the Guyana labor force is unskilled, even in the basics of construction. All they could do really, the most that they could do is they could mix mortar and stuff and things, but in terms of running a line and reading building plan and so on, they don't have those skills because the type of technical construction that's taking place in Guyana now didn't exist before. It was basically rudimentary, more or less. And so now you have opportunity for businessmen in Trinidad and Tobago to go across the Guyana and seize the opportunity. I don't see anything wrong with that. I mean, yes, you all could invest some of that money in the Trinidad and Tobago economy, and they have been doing that. But if there is opportunity just next door, right, and the Guyanese economy does not have the capacity to do it, you'll sit down and rock back and say, well, let somebody else go and do it now. Let somebody else go to Guyana and do it. When it is that we have the expertise and the skills here, and you can go there and make money, you could create opportunities. And it's not to say they go in there and only using Guyanese. They're carrying Trinidad and Tobago citizens across there so they could make some money as well. People are seeing what is happening in Guyana, the development that is taking place. Nevertheless, that they're getting a raw deal from the energy companies, the oil companies, particularly Exxon. But as an issue for them to deal with. So even if the prospect of being able to go to Guyana and maybe earn some US dollars is appealing to a lot of people. There were a lot of people when I read in newspapers who they were interviewed by the various news outlets with respect to why they were there. And some of them say, well, I run away from work, I just take my lunchtime. I took a day off today to come down here and see what is what to sign up. Because, so it's not that they're unemployed, it's not that they're not gainfully employed, but they are seeing opportunities to perhaps go to Guyana, see, get a feel for the lay of the land and earn some additional income in possibly US dollars. Because I don't think they're going to pay them in Guyanese. In fact, a friend of mine who has gone over there in construction, he, his brother, and a couple of others, because they are skilled with certain things. So they're putting up this building and they have to put in the elevator shaft and so on. And apparently they don't really have much of that skill set over there. So they've gone across to do that. And they were saying that, things like $10 and $20 Guyanese, they just put all of that in a bag and they give it away because it don't make sense. Because of the value of the currency over there, you need huge bills. So they went to the grocery and spent over 100,000 Guyanese dollars. And for them, it's mind blowing. Spend $100,000 on groceries. But we know that's next to nothing, a couple hundred, maybe 500 TT or something like that. But anyway, the point I'm making, right, is that they have seen opportunity and they're going across. Now, Janty, want to tell you something wrong with it. There's the fact that people are looking to leave here to better themselves, not register with this government. Janty, you feel when they go Guyana, they go in Guyana to live? Janty, you feel they're going across there to set up roots? No, they're going across there to make money to do what? To send back home, Jayanti. But Ole don't like that. No, because Ole only like to hear people complaining about we suffering and we can't eat, we can't buy food, and we eating grass. No, that is exactly what Ole love to hear. That's what Ole like to hear. Yes, there may be somewhat of a slowdown in construction, and most of the construction taking place in the country now is driven by the government. So there are opportunities here, but still, if they could go across there and take advantage of the opportunities, because you're Trinidad businessmen going and investing their money over there, and rather than only look for Guyanese, they're looking for Chinese too to give them an opportunity because they know the work Chinese could do, Chinese could work hard, and they have skills. Problem with that? And the only interpretation you could get from that is that they can't get nothing to do with Trinidad, so they're looking to leave here to go and better themselves. But for years, between 2010 to 2015, nobody left Trinidad for betterment. Nobody left Trinidad to go to Canada, where they love to run to go to the US or anywhere else for betterment, Janty. Because you all like to give this false impression that between 2010 to 2015, Trinidad and Tobago was a veritable utopia. Everything was perfect. We had no crime. Everybody was liking themselves, eating our food, drinking our juice and belching. Everybody had work, and everything was perfect. Everything was perfect, right? Because you all were spending $60+ billion a year when it is that the country's revenue position could not support that, as Carl Membert would have told us during the budget wrap-up in the Senate. So our revenues were about 35 billion, but you all were spending 60+, and that deficit had to be funded from somewhere, and through debt, which this administration now has to pay for. So, but Ole was giving out food card and baby grant and color me orange and one set of nonsense to keep people in a perpetual state of poverty, dependency on the government. And that is why today, the same people want to cost the government because why? We ain't getting no food card. We ain't getting no baby grant, no 500 a month to make child. So right now we're making child for free. And we are going to find the money to mind them. So it's a problem. At least, oh gosh, if we making a set of children, give you a little something now, the government give you a little something to mind them now. What happened? That's taxpayers' money. What tax all you pay? Do you know about paying tax? You ever pay PAYE in your life? You have a BR number? But talking about taxpayers' money and taxpayers' money. Look, miss me with that nonsense. But she making an issue, they making an issue because you had about just over 1,000 persons who went looking for opportunity to go across to Guyana. Not to live, not to take up, maybe one or two of them might end up go across there, they find somebody, they fall in love and they decide to stay. But the majority of them would have intentions of coming back. Just like people who for years would run to the United States and work for 6 months and then come back and go back and work for another 6 months. They earn some $US and they send it back home and to help out their family to improve, they build their house, they all like that. People who have left Trinidad for donkey years, decades, migrated when they were teenagers, today they're in their 60s and 70s and looking to come back home. I just have 2 clients who lived in Canada for some 40-something years and have now come back home, just bought a house in Dago Martin, in Petit Valley. Yeah. They came back, they're retired now and they decided to come back home to Trinidad and spend the rest of their days here. So what? And they invested money, they bought a $3 million house. That's $3 million that came into the economy of Trinidad and Tobago from Canada. Come on. Yeah, but that's when you like to nitpick, right? Good idea. That's
CCTV and the others just now because I have the data. We have a 13% detection rate and an even low detection rate, but we are, and I think that all of these statistics tell us why after 4 or 5 hours of a budget presentation, nobody really spoke about crime. Because how do you address that 13% of every 100 persons committing crimes? You are finding 13 of them and you will convict even less of them. Why? And I will get into some details. We have witness protection program failing. We have forensics failing. We have CCTV, failing and not providing the type of evidence that we need to convict people in this country. So that conviction rate continues to go down. And we have a DPP.
How do you defend a 13% detection rate? 13%, right? How do you deal with that? Well, if she can't fathom how you deal with 13, I want to ask Jandy, how do you deal with 10 and less? Let me read this little article here in The Guardian, dated the 17th of March 2013, entitled Police Statistics for 2013 Show Murder Detection Rate under 10%. Under 10%. She can't fathom how you could deal with 13 when they were in office in 2010, in 2013, and it was under 10. Oh yeah, fathom that. We could deal with that. Of the 91 murders for 2013 so far, and this is 17th of March, right? January, February, 17th of March, 91 murders so far. Statistics provided by the Police Service Crime and Problem Analysis Branch, CAPA, show only 8 have been solved, 8 out of 91. But Janty had no problems with that. That is how it's supposed to be. Yeah? She can't understand 13, but 10 and less, oh yeah. This represented a detection rate of less than 10%. Detection, says Dina Sitahal, Senior Counsel, means that someone has been arrested and charged for a crime. It doesn't mean the culprit has been found guilty in court. Despite repeated initiatives, there is still public dissatisfaction over the ability of the police to arrest criminals and solve crimes. Last Friday, the TNT Guardian's columnist Gillian Lucky and director of the Police Complaints Authority wrote that the crime situation has mushroomed and the successive political administrations had failed to build on the workable crime-fighting initiatives of the previous one. This is Gillian Lucky speaking here. For the past 5 years, I have been tracking the crime statistics that deal with the reporting and detection of serious and violent crimes. And over that period, the figure shows that the average detection rate moved from a dismal 24% to an abysmal 14%. This is 2013, and she had been tracking it for over the last 5 years, right? So when Mr. Manning was in office, when the PNM was in office, the crime detection rate was 24%. 24%. I mean, it could be better than that because in other jurisdictions, metropolitan countries and so on, the UK and stuff is more like 70, 75%, the US and the like. And it all speaks to the training of the police. But based on what Gillian Lucky is telling us here, based on her analysis of statistics and tracking it for 5 years, under the PNM, up to 2010, it was around 24%. And then the PP came in 2010, and it went from 24 to 14%, to eventually it went to under 10%. What caused that? Why did it drop from 24% when it was on an ascendancy A word that the UNC doesn't know the meaning of clearly, because if you could go from 202,000 votes in a local election in 2019 to 189,000 in 2023 and telling your supporters the party is in an ascendancy, clearly you have a different dictionary from the rest of us. But she goes on, obviously there is insufficient resort to scientific means to detect criminals and the bandits are way ahead, Lucky wrote. Just now, huh? Former Minister in the Ministry of National Security, Fitzgerald Hines, said the country continued to experience an abysmal detection rate. This is 2013. The problem was multifaceted, and in his view, the major obstacle is untrained police. Hines accused the police service of being stingy and skimpy when it came to spending money to send officers abroad for training. So understand whose responsibility it is to send officers abroad for training. The TTPS, not the minister. For those of us who were looking at the Standing Finance Committee for the budget recently, the TTPS was allocated over $2.6 billion. The TTPS, the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, has been allocated over $2.6 billion for fiscal 2023 to 2024, right? And who's responsible for that? The Commissioner of Police is the accounting officer for the TTPS. So the commissioner will decide how that money is to be spent. Based on her analysis, along with her executive, they will know what needs to be done and where money needs to be spent. So if it is car need to fix, like Janti said, the commissioner decides that. The minister doesn't decide that, right? The commissioner and her executive, they will decide that. When Gary was spending the money, he wasn't asking Hines for permission. He wasn't asking Stuart Young for permission. He didn't ask Keith Rowley for permission on how to spend his allocation. He was spending it as he saw fit, which is why you had so many people hired and civilians being hired in all kind of positions, like Mr. Chandler and the like, right? New positions created that had never existed before in the TTPS. We had contracts being given out, $1 million contracts, but we know that the permanent secretary has a limit of $1 million to approve. So if the commissioner decides he wants to spend so on and he just get approval from the PS, once it's within the PS's range, $1 million and under. So we would have read a number of contracts being broken up to keep it under the $1 million radar so that it wouldn't have to go to cabinet for cabinet scrutiny. But I see Inshan Ishmael filed freedom of information requests on the TTFS, the fire service, to find out about 20 wooden ladders that was purchased for $999,000, again under the $1 million radar, so it wouldn't have had to go to cabinet, and the permanent secretary would have been had the wherewithal to approve that. The ladders were never used. It is now being said that they may not be able to use them. But I find it interesting that Mr. Ishmael hasn't filed for any freedom of information request with respect to the expenditure of monies under Gary Griffith, partner. Because during the election just gone, Philip Alexander made a number of allegations for which I have not seen any pre-action protocol letter sent by Inshan Ishmael, who love to send pre-action protocol letter. Like he does just sit down whole day and looking on social media to see who talking about him and what they say. And then he go call Jagasa and tell Jagasa send a pre-action protocol letter. Yeah? Always want to be talking about freedom of speech and freedom of this and freedom of that. But you want to muzzle people if they say something that you don't like. Philip Alexander said a lot of things with respect to the role Gary Griffith played in Inshan Ishmael and they getting that land, Baraka, what is now Baraka grounds, which was supposed to be for a particular Muslim group. But it seems when you look at Inshan Ishmael's Facebook page, like he owned Baraka grounds, right? I don't know what is that whole arrangement there. How much I don't even think they paid any money for that. They just get them state land or whatever, and all kind of thing. It was supposed to build hospital. Now we'd have a food court, a car wash, swimming pool, all kind of thing to make money. Yeah, and everything is only Inshan Ishmael marketing that. All right, I see they have a big building there. I guess they finally decided to build the hospital after all of these years. But it's interesting. Philip Alexander also made the claim that while Gary Griffith was Commissioner of Police, the police they used to send the cars in his garage for repairs. So I wonder if it is I think Mr. Ishmael would have sent out a freedom of information request on Ula Christopher to find out respect how much money they spent on repairing cars over the last couple of years or so at the garages, not his own. So much other expenditure that took place under Gary Griffith. Mr. Ishmael not interested in that. He's not interested in filing any freedom of information request to get that information. No. He ain't nobody in the fire service. So the head of the fire service is not your friend. So they file in freedom of information request to put the information out there, and how everything is corruption and corruption and corruption. Well, tell us what did you tender for that job? where police vehicles were being sent to your garage for repair? What was that arrangement? Was that put out for open tender? And how did you win it? I just asking questions. How did you win that tender, Mr. Ishmael? How? Or was it a friend thing? As Philip Alexander is alleging. You have nothing to say about that? With respect to the land, Gary said, well, yeah, nothing wrong with that. Everybody entitled. Either you nor Gary. Ole not attacking Philip. Philip said, I have information on Ole, don't mash my corn. And that's all he have to say. And the fingers on the lip, the mouth up as if they are not interested. No response to Philip. He can say what he want because he know what he have on them because he was a part of that. Never forget, what is equal time? The program he wanted to have 2015 thereabouts, before they limited office, where he wanted to have a program on CNMG between 6 to 7 called Equal Time, where he would be interviewing disgraced ministers in an attempt to sanitize them at a cost of $92,000 a month. Yeah, remember everybody was eating our food from Life Sport back then, so everybody wanted to jump on the bandwagon and eat our food because they thought they were going to come back into office. Voices, your government working for you. But I continue. Janty talking about 13% detection. We now have the crime scene investigations unit because officers have been trained to carefully comb a crime scene and properly gather evidence. How did that come about? But the detection rate is still very low. This is Gillian Lucky speaking here. Another factor in the increasingly low detection rate is the disbanding of SORT, which gathered intelligence on gangs, murder suspects, and organized crime. Lucky, who also lauded the efforts of SORT, said the organization focused on best practices in investigations and the use of technology to detect the identity of criminals. The sale of the controversial blimp, which was bought for US 15 million and later sold for US 50,000, sold under the PP. Under the People's Partnership government, also dealt a severe blow to the police being able to arrest criminals. The blimp had a real psychological effect on criminals. They knew someone was always watching and listening to them. But with that gone, the floodgate has been opened. Continue to discuss. A key element in solving crime depended heavily on the testimony of eyewitnesses, but the country's witness detection program, Mr. Hines said, also left much to be desired. In November 2011, then Minister of Justice Herbert Volney said the ministry intended to upgrade the physical infrastructure of the program. Speaking in Parliament, Volney said $25 million is being expended to keep witnesses alive in the Witness Protection Plan. In the last months, we have seen 117 cases involving victims and their families. Witnesses and their families have to be protected. They don't have physical infrastructure to deal with that. We are putting in place a measure dealing with the next generation. But she wanted to talk about witness protection has failed. Janty, where were you in 2010 to 2015? Under a rock? Or is it that you had left Trinidad and Tobago for greener pastures to look for betterment? I don't know. I just wondering. So let me get this here. Where is it? I know, was it on this article, boy, where Gillian Lucky, I think, spoke about visiting SORT's headquarters in Kamutu. And she was saying that the labs there were like what you would see on TV with NCIS and CS and this show CSI, Miami and whatever it is, the kind of lab that you see and all of the things. That was being used here in crime detection. That is why it was at 24% under Mr. Manning and rising. And when the PP came in, because they had maligned the program, when they were in opposition, they got rid of it on the basis that it wasn't legal. It didn't have any legal standing. And rather than simply bring a bill or whatever it is to Parliament to make SORT a legal entity, they disbanded it, get rid of it, and replaced it with what? Clearly nothing of substance. Hence the reason the crime detection rate went from 24% down to an abysmal 8 or 10 under them. But today, Jayanti want to lament 13. Well, it's still an improvement, Jayanti. Under this administration, if under Ole it was under 10, and now it's at 13, it's still heading in the right direction. Still heading in the right direction, Jayanti. But you had no problems, you were comfortable. Trinidad and Tobago was a utopia with less than 10% crime detection rate. But above 10, so it's 13, we're a hellhole. You all dismantled SORT, got rid of the blimp, and other things, other apparatus that the PNM had in place. Or let's say we want OPV, the war is on the land, not on the sea. Get rid of the OPV. All them things. And expected what? The crime situation to improve. What did you all replace it with? Nothing. Nothing. What replaced it? Replaced SAUTT. Absolutely nothing. When Gary came back into office, he replaced SAUTT with SORT. And in fact, he did an interview the other day when he did the interview on I-95.5, and he mentioned the reason why he created SORTT is because he recognized that SAUTT created by the PNM was a very good thing. It was a very good thing, but he couldn't bring back SAUTT. So he brought back something similar, but called it SORTT. He admitted that as National Security Advisor. Didn't you advise them not to shut down SORT? Did you advise them to go to Parliament and make it a legal entity, Mr. Griffith? Did you do that? Did you advise them to get rid of the blimp? That 15 million US was paid for it and you all sell it for 50,000 US? Just like you sold the Panorama for 300,000 US when Mr. Manning rejected that offer. Today it is sailing in Greece or wherever it is, looking brand new, operating very well. So all of these things, but they don't like to hear that, you know. They don't like to hear when they talk about the OPVs. Oh, the OPVs, always somebody OPVs. What was the solution? They wanted to buy, you all remember, armored tanks. Bulletproof tanks. To do what? In Trinidad and Tobago, what we need that for? These armored tanks, what? To go up in Lavantil and lock up them boys and them? Well, I need 10 armored tanks with rocket launchers and so on. That making sense to it, right? That's what they wanted to spend money. That was their solution to crime. Their solution to crime was to threaten the acting commissioner of police. The then Attorney General. Hey, get your act together, you know, otherwise you will find that acting appointment could come to an end sooner rather than later. Really? But I thought that was the remit and responsibility of the Police Service Commission. Only the Police Service Commission could bring an end to the contract of the acting commissioner of police, or bring it to a premature end. But today they want to tell you this administration interfering in the operations of the Police Service Commission. But when an Attorney General could come on national TV and threaten the commissioner and say, we want to see better, otherwise, you see that acting? Instead of 6 months, you could very well find it cut down to 2. How you doing that, Attorney General? How you doing that? You're going to pick up the phone and call the chairman of the Police Service Commission, an independent commission, and tell them, get rid of he? That's how you do it? But Rowley interfere. Rowley went and interfere in the merit list and all of that. But like they forget when Annan made that statement, and shortly thereafter we saw that Mr. Filbert's appointment had come to an end. But there was no interference there. No. The government had nothing to do with that. No. There was no interference in the PSC. That has only happened under the PNM. Rowley interfered. Rowley fired Gary. And that's why the crime situation is the way that it is. I was looking last night at Beyond the Tape. I don't usually look up. And in fact, I think this is probably the first time I've looked at Beyond the Tape, other than seeing short clips from before. And I only looked at it, I did it deliberately because I was listening to I-95 news earlier on in the day, and they spoke about this murder that took place a couple nights ago in Belmont. And the video, the graphic video, that was shown on Beyond the Tape, and so I decided to take a look. And I mean, what I saw, and I'm sure many of you may have seen it. I haven't seen the video circulating on social media, but I'm sure it probably is there. These 4 men who were murdered. You see the van pull up. All of these guys, 3-4 guys jump out with automatic weapons, high-powered, look like AR-15 and so on. So they didn't come with no handgun to say, po. They came with AR-15, what looked to be AR-15. So it's multiple bullets. When you're just seeing it, rapid gunfire. Yeah, just flash. Several of them. So they kill these guys dead. The guy shot on the ground. They went, walk up to each of them. After they're on the ground, shoot them in the headshot. So make sure they're dead. I heard Inspector, I think he's Inspector Alexander, say that based on police intelligence, the motive for that would have been that there was some altercation or something on the avenue where the men who did the shooting, certain persons were less than impressed with their behavior, and there may have been an exchange of words or something to that effect. resulting in the death of these. So these days you have to be very careful who you're talking to, how you're talking to people, what you say, because you never know. Gypsy once sang a song, every shadow is a gunman, and every gunman a potential killer. Yeah? We used to hear thing long time, if your marshal man clerks, you're liable to get, you could end up getting 2 stab or something, or a broken bottle to face, or a bottle over your head or something, yeah? You don't mess with a man clerks. Today, you just say something, a man feels disrespected, you don't know who you know and what he packing, and the next thing, you're dead. So you just, sorry, apologies, you see thing, you walk away. Don't say nothing, right? Don't get involved. You see a man looking a little grimy, leave it alone if you value your life. I don't know, this is just what my interpretation of what Inspector Alexander would have said. But if that is in fact the case, that is most unfortunate. Most unfortunate that you could lose your life over something so simple, an exchange of words. Whereas once upon a time that might have resulted in what they call a fisticuff or a manager slap across your face, a little scuffle and all it done that day. No, now you are the dead. And they're killing you dead. It's not no shots to say you end up in hospital in critical condition. You're dead. So they keep all out. So we know these guns are out on the street. We know that it is out there. How it reach here? And I'm looking at that and I'm saying to myself, these men don't know God. They don't fear what is to come when they leave this life. They don't read the Bible. But you see, that's the problem. They can't fear what they don't know. Clearly, they don't know God. Because I can't understand how for the life of me, you could know God, know what He's about, and you will take a gun and just shoot somebody like that. And make sure that dead, you come back and hit them headshots. You walk up to each of them, headshot each, right? Dead. All of these men, they're 20s, 20-something year olds, right? Life cut short. They just stand up outside having a normal conversation. They had no idea, no clue while they were having that conversation that they had mere minutes to live. Poor fat boy. Fat boy woke up to them, fat boy. They say timing is everything, Poor fat boy, no, woke up to the rest of them. The 3 of them stand up there talking. And if he had waited 5 minutes more, if fat boy had said, you know what, let me take a shower 5 minutes later, fat boy might have still been alive today. As soon as he woke up, about 10-15 seconds after he woke up, gunshots. He dead. You should have stayed in your house. Stay in your house. This is after 10 in the night. Me, it could be what time I reach. If I get home 6 o'clock, as soon as I reach 8 o'clock, lock my padlock, lock my door, and I'm inside. I tell people, you see, when I reach inside, don't call me. I'm not coming back outside. I mean, I have my house all to myself. When I come in my room, I lock in my door. I don't want you to come in here. I will parallel respect to that. It's just a natural thing that happens. But I am seeing 4 men. And then I heard there was some other 3 of them killing Blanchishes or something so. But I'm looking at this and I'm saying 20-something year olds gone, right? I'm sure all of them are probably gainfully employed. The UNC like to talk about how much people, when they get murdered, and this is less people contributing to NIS. Well, that's 4 people less contributing to NIS. That's 4 payments the NIS now has to make. Funeral grant of $7,500 a piece. $30,000 that they have to pay out in funeral grants, right? And 4 contributors. These were young men in their 20s. So we were looking at this another 30-something years of contributions now gone to the grave. They're taking that with them. They can't pay NIS from the grave. Well, they ain't going to be making a claim for pension either. But listen to Senator Jayanti Lakshmi Dayal. And according to her, based on what she said in her contribution to the debate, you see those men who committed that gruesome murder, they must not be denied the right to access bail. Must not be denied the right. So in spite of this video that we have seen here, and we see how they did it, and they showed no mercy, they gave no quarter, they made sure them 4 fellas was dead over something silly. According to Jayanti, those men deserve an opportunity to get bail if they are ever apprehended, so that they could go back out on the streets and continue to do what it is they're doing now. So whereas before, the possibility that if it is you were apprehended for committing a murder, you would end up sitting on remand for about 10-15 years or more before your matter called. So you know when you get catch, that is the end of freedom for you. you're inside until. That was up until a year and a half ago, or thereabouts. Thanks to Jayanti and Anand and the rest of them, these men now, there is no longer a fear to commit murder with respect to being apprehended and ending up in jail. Right? So all you need to do is to make sure you have things in place for bail. So in case you get catch, you know the likelihood that you're going to get bail is very high based on what we've been seeing within the recent past. So you could go and kill with impunity now and know that within 2-3 days you're back out on the street. The only difference is you have a case. You have a case to answer, but you don't need no certificate of character because you're not looking for any gainful employment or any legitimate work. So you don't have to worry about your record spoil and you're good. Because if it is that whole day you toting around AR-15 and stuff, and you could kill somebody easy, so you aren't looking for no legitimate work. So you're good. Just make sure wherever it is you're doing, whatever criminal activities you're engaging in, put aside money or make your arrangements to, so if and when you are caught, you're sure you have money to pay the bail. Because you're going back. So the temple, but tell where the police, I will get bail anyway. I understand it. Sometimes now they're laughing in the face of the police when they get locked up. But earlier I said, I coming back outside just now. By tomorrow I outside. They're boasting to the police now when they held for murder. By next week I outside. By I said by disrespecting even the police now. They even care because what they could do me. What they will do me. And maybe I might offer me when I go inside it, but all right. But I'll come back up. Yeah, you better watch yourself. This is what people like Jayanti Lakshmidiyal and the UNC, this is the environment that they have created. That the criminals no longer have any fear of being apprehended because they now have access to bail for the most heinous of crimes. And I want to ask Jayanti, since you're all big on the presumption of innocence until proven guilty, if these 4 men, or how many ever of them get caught, and they say, well, right, we're looking for the best lawyer. We're going by Anand, and we're going by Jayanti Lakshmidiyal because them just get people off. We're going to tell them, no, you're not taking the case. Why? What happened to the presumption of innocence, Jayanti? Every man, regardless, is entitled to a defense. So you're going to say, no, we throw the presumption of innocence out the door. So you are going to presume that they're guilty? No. You will take the case, right? You will take the case and fight tooth and nail, hell hard, to get them off. So that they could come back outside and continue to do what it is that they're doing now. Frustrating the police. That when the police work hard and apprehend these men and lock them up, and 2 days, but I didn't lock you up last week for murder. What are you doing outside? Ask Jayanti Lakshmidiyal that. Ask Anand Ramlogan that. Ask Kamla Prasad Bisessa, Anil Roberts and the rest of them that. What does that do to the police service? So when it is, they should only be investigating 1 crime or 2 crimes committed by this individual, as far as they know about. You don't have to investigate in 3 and 4 because you lock them up for the crime they committed before. They get bail, back out now and commit additional crimes. So you have new crimes to investigate from the same person who should be sitting behind bars, right? Not able to commit anymore. What what are supposed to do to the police? What are supposed to do to them? Where is the justice system to assist the police? Where is it? I want to ask the question, is it that they don't do tracing anymore? I thought once upon a time when it is a man itself a crime and it comes before the court, when consideration is being given to bail, they would ask for, was tracing done so we could see if this person has a criminal record. A criminal record that would instruct or inform the court, this is not somebody who should have bail. But it seems now, everybody, regardless, you're hearing, and it appears to be a recurring decimal, that persons are getting charges and getting bail for the gun charges too. You were on bail for murder, but now you are paying before the court again on a charge of gun possession for the purpose of trafficking, no less. So it's not 1 gun, several guns, and yet still the court still giving you bail. So you're now out on bail for murder, you're out on bail for gun-related charges, and the judicial officer expects what? That you're going to turn your life around the second time? That as soon as you walk out the courtroom, you're going to look for the nearest church to ask you to tell the pastor you want to baptize? That you want to become an evangelist, you're going and pick up the Bible? What do they expect? So it blows my mind how you as a judge or a magistrate could see have somebody come before you on a charge of murder and probably other related charge, gun-related charges, appears before you on another gun-related charge, and you give this person bail. I don't know, maybe something wrong with me. Or maybe something wrong with all of us who see something wrong with that. So apparently they don't do tracing anymore. The prosecutor, I'm asking, the police prosecutor, whoever, when it is that these people come and apply for bail, the state doesn't object on the basis that, Your Honor, my lady, my lord, whatever you're calling them, this person has a criminal rap sheet. This person is currently on bail for murder. And the state objects to bail. They don't object? Is it that nobody appears for the state to object to bail to these persons getting bail? I'm confused. So a fellow who was, I think was his name Papi or something, so was killed in his vehicle and by Super Farm and Devo Martin. He was out on bail for murder. We had the individual who robbed the Persaud's family, matriarch and patriarch. He was out on bail for murder. Then we had another gentleman who the police held. He got bail in March of this year, and I think sometime June, July thereabouts, he was held in a house somewhere up in the east with multiple firearms and ammunition, out on bail for murder. But you know what's interesting? Remember the UNC when they were able to accomplish this, successfully got the court to overturn murder as a non-bailable offense. Remember what they were telling us? Bail is not automatic. Bail is not automatic. What it simply grants them is the right to access bail, and it is up to the judicial officer as to whether or not they're going to grant bail. So it's not everybody who applies for bail, everybody who is accused of murder and applies for bail will get it. Well, it seems that is what's happening, because there's at least 5 persons we've seen who are out on bail for murder and either have ended up in altercations with the police that resulted in their loss of life, or they are out on bail for murder and they have now found themselves before the court on other criminal charges which they commit for crimes they committed subsequent to getting bail. That is madness in the US. And then she wanted to talk about we should have a functioning parole system here and ankle bracelet. Really, Gianty? Ankle bracelet? So what? When they put the ankle bracelet on them, we will tell them, well, they could only go here and they could only go there. When it is that they're out on bail, based on the bail they're getting out there, I am not aware there are any restrictions as to where they could go. So what's the purpose of getting them the ankle bracelet? So that if it is a crime is committed in if they're living in St. James and a crime is committed in murder in Arima, and murder is committed in Arima, and the police suspect that is this person, they could say, well, all right, let me check the ankle bracelet and see where was he at this time when this murder was committed. Yeah, yes. Based on the information, the data we have here, he was in Arima. So he's a suspect. That's what it's about. And then what? You bring him before the court and he get bail again? So what's the purpose of spending money for the ankle bracelet? Where is the deterrent from committing murders and that psychological deterrent of having to sit down and remand for 10, 15 years before your case call, or by the time your case call, you're ready to collect pension? It is no longer there. It is removed. So you could kill with impunity in this country now, and rest assured that if the police hold you in a couple of days' time, you're back out on the street, free to commit murder again. But when it is that the Akili Charles, whose case would have led to the overturning of murder as a bailable offense, right? And he was subsequently killed. Because Jayanti said when he went back home to his old neighborhood, because he refused to join a gang, he was killed. He refused to join the gang, so he was killed. So the rest of them, when they come out and they are given the ultimatum, join the gang or you get killed. They need to come and join the gang, take up a gun and go out and continue to commit crime or we kill you. What do you feel they're going to do? When they see what happened to Akini or Akili Charles, what are they going to do? When it is that they are already conditioned to do that, they're going to say no and get killed? And they like what it is they were doing, which is why they know they were before the courts and in prison. Because they like that lifestyle. That's how they get there. At one point in time, these were just primary school boys. Primary school boys running up and down and playing Scooch and whatever other games they play now and playing video games and so on. Oblivious, the only gun they knew at that time was water gun and caps gun. But now they know about AR-15 and Glock and 9mm and all of that. How did they get from that point, primary school boys playing these innocent games, to now taking people's lives with impunity? But we don't ever factor in the parents. No, it's the state, it's the minister, it's the police, it's the government, it's the prime minister, but never the parents. Never the parents. Right? When the prime minister talk about creating monsters, oh, they up in their feelings. How Rowley could call people children and them monsters and so on. So those guys who killed, unfortunately killed those boys in Belmont. What type of behavior was that? Civilized behaviors, and that's how you settle a dispute. You pull out an AR-15 and you kill them. Parents, the families of these 4 young men who were living, as far as we know, honest lives. What are they supposed to do now? Auntie, I wonder if any of these 4 20-something-year-olds had a child, or if any of them had a wife or a girlfriend, such that now there's a single parent home and a childless father, a fatherless child. The Auntie talk about, because when you deny them bail, you create single parents homes and fatherless children. Auntie, any of these 4 young men, their death has resulted in a single parent home and fatherless children. Auntie, what you have to say to that? But their killers must not be denied freedom. They must be allowed to get back out, to go back and live nice and support their families. What kind of example they set in? What kind of example they set in for the children, assuming that they have any? And their being outside is worse than them being inside. Because when they're outside, right, they kill, and there be no alter revenge killings take place. So what is going to happen? They lie down in the bed in the night with the wife and the children in the next room, and it's because somebody come and kick down the door with their AR-15 to take revenge for whoever they kill. Open fire and multiple deaths. Children get killed, father get killed, mother get killed. But Auntie telling you they deserve to get bail. And again, look at the usual suspects, the names of the lawyers who representing these guys. It's not PNM lawyers, not lawyers associated with the PNM. Just take note of that, right? But again, this is where we have reached. This is where we have reached. No longer do we settle disputes with muscle, we settle it with firepower. And it's who's the quicker draw and have the more powerful weapon. Again, I ask, where are the parents of these men who committed these crimes? Because those fellows who were firing their shots, they don't look like they're geriatrics. They're not looking like they're ready for pension. They ain't looking like they're in their 50s and 60s. They look like they could be the same age or even younger than the victims. You feel their parents care where they are? So this nonsense about, I try my best. Me know what else to do now. I fed up. What else I could do? I really try. No, you didn't try. You created the problem. You created the problem. So this thing about you try and you try and you try. Miss us with that. We try what? And have many other single parent homes with multiple children. And the children are brought up with some level of decency and discipline, and they're not inclined to go and pick up gun and kill people and rob people. So this thing about you try and you try. You must have known at what point in time your child started to go astray, and the contribution that you made to that. But when it is that you have criminals making children, what example are they setting for them? What example are you setting? Because when your son come home and he pocket fat and he hand you a piece of money, you good with that. He works nowhere, as they say, and draws no pay. But he handing you money and you have no questions as to where the money coming from. You have no interest. You just liking yourself. No care for the person who he just distress to get that money from. You ain't care what he do, what he sell, who he kill. If it's blood money, you ain't care. All you know, you have money to go and spend. Or why you liking yourself? Somebody else had to be in Belgroves to go and identify body. Or picking coffin. Or going through closet and drawer to pick out clothes to take to the funeral home for the family member to wear in the coffin. Meanwhile, you enjoying the spoils of the criminal life that your child living. You're stressing honest citizens. And you have nothing to say about that, but only talking, I try. I think it was Rashot TI that said they pushed the creator out. They didn't want to name them out. You take him off of the school curriculum. No knowledge of God for the children. They wouldn't send them to Sunday school. No, you ain't going to church and them ain't going neither. Right? But you put the show a tablet in their hand and a phone in their hand. That's how it's supposed to be. And we wonder why we are where we are today. But blame the government. It's Rowley and Hines must go. Right? Because when Hines go, what happened in Belmont wouldn't happen if Hines had gone. No, because the police everywhere. Right? Police everywhere. I was speaking to a police officer quite recently, a few days ago. He's been in the police service for about 3 years. And he was telling me, he was lamenting the fact that you say, you come in here with very good intentions. You want to fight crime. You want to assist in crime reduction. He said, but you come in here with that intention and the status quo. They let you know one time, don't come in here playing, maverick. Because you have senior officers who are involved in things and they try to recruit you into it. You just had to have your head on and do what it is you had to do and try and keep honest. This is a young police officer telling me this. Yeah? This is what he had to deal with on a daily basis. So even inside, those who are tasked with responsibility at the senior levels to deal with the crime. So you have criminals inside and outside too. What are we supposed to do? So the rest of us are just sitting ducks. No wonder why. And Inspector Alexander last night telling Marlon about information and evidence and so on. And people have information. People have information, but they're not coming and telling nothing, Alexander. Because they're afraid. They don't know who to talk to, who to tell. They don't know if it's the person who they're talking to in league with the people who they're lodging the complaint on. That they could end up being a statistic. This poor 13-year-old girl who just went to do a ID parade, and a few hours later she was dead. There is no confidence in the police. But when it is that we had outsiders, undersort, persons who were seconded from the army and the regiment, and we had people from Scotland Yard, the UK police who were part of SORT, working with their local counterparts and training them in crime detection and modern crime fighting strategies. UNCC, get rid of that because it's not legal, rather than to do the proper thing. Because we were seeing some degree of improvement in the crime situation in the country, but it's the PNM created that, right? PNM created that, and only get rid of it, replaced it with nothing of substance, and then we wonder why we are where we are today. They lamenting crime the most, I know, but doing the most to enable criminals to be able to continue the criminal enterprise. It's only representing them in the courthouse. It's you all going to the courts to overturn laws that have been on the books for years to keep them incarcerated. You all refuse to support legislation that would have them locked up. And then you come in to chastise the government to talk about their solution to crime is to deny bail. Yes, deny bail, because when they're behind bars, but even behind bars, they're still doing things. Because they're calling shots from behind the bars too. So you have the corruption within the prison service, with the prison officers who insist, but some of them don't have a choice. Because it's the same thing. When they go in there and other officers doing these things, and if it is that the criminal element try to recruit them and they refuse, what will happen? The next thing you know is they shoot up your house. They shoot up your car. So it's either you conform or face the consequences. How are we fixing that? How are we fixing that? How the cell phones getting into the prison? How it getting in there? Every time they run a raid, they finding SIM card, cell phone, contraband, weed, cigarette, you name it. Every time. How it getting in there and walk, to use the anti-term, they grew feet and climb the wall and walk into the cell and tell the prisoners, hey, look, we reach. How? But blame Hines must go and Rowley must go, and that will fix the crime situation in the country. Kamala had 5 ministers of national security. She could fix it. 5. Chant, you want to talk about this is the worst administration of the criminal country and so on. You all had a whole Ministry of Justice and 40 high-powered guns went missing from the Forensic Science Center. For a whole year, nobody didn't notice that. A whole year, nobody noticed that 40 high-powered guns that were seized for various crimes and were supposed to be evidence in cases went missing. Nobody sees it. So again, the guns also grew feet or they grew wings and flew out of the Forensic Science Center. No camera. All of a sudden, now they know about CCTV camera and CCTV. So it had no CCTV cameras in forensic to see who it is took the guns and went with it. Nobody can see that. So they have all the solutions today for crime, but when they were in office, they didn't know. Their solution was to call a state of emergency and lock up the usual suspects. Lock up the usual suspects. That was their solution to crime. Or, as Gary Griffith and they had said, to buy the criminal element. Give them contract, box drain contracts, millions of dollars in box drain contracts. Give them contract to pave road. That was what you, yeah, let me pacify them. Let me give them some hush money. Yeah, get them contract. 3/4 or most of the box drains make no sense. But today they know about taxpayer money. They didn't know about taxpayer money then. They didn't know about taxpayers' money then. Anywhere in this country you could go, look at the box drains and see how much of them, see if they really serving a purpose. Plenty in their own constituencies, laden with bush. Right? What the regional corporation doing with the monies they have, other than complaining that they could be getting enough money from central government? Something has to be done. This is ridiculous. Ridiculous. But you know what? Yeah, the guns coming through the legal ports of entry. Again, through the legal ports of entry. It's because it had no scanners. As if this wasn't happening when it had scanners. How many times we see guns coming to the country in barrel, in containers and so on. And nobody is held. So there was no name, no consignee, nothing to receive this container, this barrel. And people keep lamenting, why we not having a sting operation? Okay, well, get this. Facilitate the process. Wait and see who come in to get the barrel. But when you have people inside, who know, hey, they discover the barrel, they don't call it, hey, as they know, they find the barrel, but they don't have to come and collect that here because you know what going there. I can't let it pass because they see it. The seniors don't see it already. So, and they inform the police, so they go and set up a sting operation. So if you only come and collect that day, you know what, good. Yeah, but it's okay, you can go ahead and still try because now you could get bail. You only think you have a case. That's it. You have a case, but else. You ain't making no jail. You're not making no jail. You gain bail to go back out and bring an next ship. Hope this time you get it right. And what? How the criminals know that the scanners on the port not working? Ask a silly question. Because UNC only singing that song. But the scanners. We want to know, you come in the parliament, what is the status of the scanners? Any of the scanners working? When the scanners come in? And meanwhile, the criminal element listening. Hey, the scanners are working, but we can bring it in. They say not until 2024, we have a window of opportunity. Let me see how much we can bring in. Thanks to the UNC. We didn't know, But yeah, the UNC keep prosecuting and keep coming in parliament and asking questions. And going and holding press conference to talk about that. And basically tip off the criminals so they know what is the status of the port. And they know the timelines too, as to when the scanners will be set up. Yeah? And even when because the minister announced since 2021, monies was given to customs. Well, now that the contract has been awarded, the scanners are expected to be in the country by next year. So they know the criminal element is aware. And when it reached, of course, the UNC is going to continue to ask. So, well, let's say the scanners was coming in 2024. It reached yet? Well, let's setting it up. We want to know if the scanners are active. You all have any handheld? You all have any mobile scanners? And keep asking questions on that and prosecuting that case as if it is the criminal element they're listening. Thanks, UNC. Yeah, thanks for letting us know. We appreciate the update. We know which ports have scanners and which don't have. Thanks for that. Keep asking the questions so we can be kept updated so we know how to move. And that making sense, and the supporters figure that that is a good thing. Every time they talk about scanners to make the government look bad, really and truly, all they're simply doing is informing the criminal element, hey, if they have no working scanner on the port, or they have one. Yeah? None at all down now. So bring it in. And we applaud that. Yes, that is the government in waiting. That is the alternative government. That is the answer to crime. That's the answer. Nothing of substance. Yeah? Load up the matic. Pull it back. That's their solution. Gated communities. That is their solution. Nothing to deal with crime detection. No legislation. not supporting no legislation that impinges on people's constitutional right to bail, freedom. Supporting that. And, yeah, let me see how much more murderers or alleged murderers will be getting bail. The justice system in this country stinks. It is in a mess. And there seems to be a complete lack of rectitude, lack of, I don't know, will to fix it from those who have direct responsibility to fix it. Because when we have judicial officers giving bail to people multiple times for multiple crimes and the most heinous, this is not somebody who have a case for weed, or somebody who have a case for petty theft or something like that, to say, well, all right, when we do the tracing, when we see the man out on bail for housebreaking or larceny, a man out on bail for murder, gun crimes, and you still giving him bail another time, and expect what? You expect a difference? That he's not going to go back and do the same thing, and that the likelihood is in a couple months' time he'll be back before you for the same crime, but you're giving bail? And who taking this bail? Who taking this? Where they get any money and property from to take this bail? When you know this person is inclined towards crime, and the likelihood is that your money or your property will be forfeit, you're still willing to put it up. So clearly you benefit in some other way. But Hines must go, and Rowley must go. And that's all the problem. 770-1763. Where is this thing? Donna is saying, I know a man went on a Monday night for a meeting and eat a stale doubles, and most of all, his programs now is a cup. S. Oh, Lord.
Looking forward.
See. So. What is it? Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Dr. Ali.
Morning.
Double standard hypocrisy.
Mm-hmm.
You saying there are no scandals.
Yes.
What you're doing is publishing an anti-criminal.
Correct.
The thing that should not be said in the public domain. If I tell you my bank card is so-and-so wants to go for me, write my bank card number down, not sleeping number down.
Mm-hmm.
How can you then say government don't care?
Yes.
When all right, you talking about single parents, the men in jail.
Mm-hmm.
What about the victims' children?
Yes.
Don't they come?
Partly not.
Time those people represent a killer. Your bread is buttered with the blood of every victim.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to pay a price. I'm not saying there is something called self-defense.
Yes.
But you left home to kill 4 people. Right? You killed the young man, 30 years old. He could have a child or 2, right?
Yes.
You killed his seed. You killed his potential. And all you have the guts to say, really? You are mindless demons. And I don't have no apology for what the dumb are going to say it. You are part of the crime in this nation.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You don't care about people, no. You care about your money and your race. Well, guess what? The seed, you see, mustard seed very tiny. It is the smallest seed in the plant world. It grows to be a big tree. Right?
Mm-hmm.
You want to see it's part of the crime in this nation. One Kamala said, if we lose election, blood will flow like water.
Mm.
Water was opposed to me, Kamala.
Mm-hmm.
That was a sign they gave you.
Yes.
And hear me well. You see what you Kamala tell you? You think you have ill health now? It's going to go to you and say like a wildfire.
Yes.
The cough and the drug on the earth is witchcraft. It's going to follow you home. So when your children get sick and you get sick, don't blame P&M. Because you open the door which will never be closed. And people, it's not about flag or yellow or red. It's about putting your country first. UNC is a cult. You remember Jim Jones?
Yes.
UNC is the Jim Jones of this nation. I have no apologies to give. Because if you put the country first, go to hell, come and went to hell when you were born. You do not like this nation. There was something when you were dancing, right?
Yes.
In Guyana. Because they're happy. Your double self hypocrites. Go Guyana. Pack your 2x2 and go. Because you're always curse the Prime Minister. But the same thing after you and yours. Again, I don't apologize. Enough is enough is enough. We are hateful. You are demonic from the depths of hell. Now have a good day. Bye-bye, my love.
Thank you. Hey, come back. So we get this here. Jenny.
Hi, morning, Dominic.
Morning.
Morning to all those who looked into stuff, access, stubborn things. First of all, I want to send condolences to the Bhagwan Singh family.
Yes.
Seeing something there that held Bhagwan Singh has died. And she has been a giant in the field when you talk about hardwares.
Yes.
That and I think she would have also received the Auditor General and Tobago one time.
Yes.
So condolences to that family. I hope that they get whatever they need to help them over these trying times in terms of the grief and all that. I also want to say congratulations to the basketball team that won bronze at the Pan American Games. I think it's the first time we may have done that, beating teams like much bigger teams that you normally would need to beat in basketball. So that is our up-and-coming sport that we actually get in bronze medals and actually medaling in international competition.
Right.
But I might just see the UNC and all those who are supposed to be PNM, I think they're fishing, right? And they will keep, because as my mother says, if you're fighting against the evil will push back, So I don't think they will give you a easy time with we pushing with the truth. Evil will push back and they will come all how and different things. Sometimes make you feel wary as if what you're doing not working, but trust me. That is when we have to continue because we know that people are listening and people are hearing. When I heard this situation with the 20 or so wooden the ladders to the fire service, and I heard the amount paid, I was saying, okay, that has to be a situation that Inshan Ishmael, the same way that Amir Ramkisoon, who is the head of the fire service welfare association, that's what it's called. When I heard how he given so much praises to Inshan Ishmael for covering, in my way of putting it, corruption and stuff, I'm saying the first place they should have looked at is the permanent secretary because the amount of money there is money that the permanent secretary then had to go to the minister or go to cabinet or nothing to get. I see within the remit of the permanent secretary to spend 1 million.
Yes.
So I think they should have looked at, asked the permanent secretary what happened, asked the procurement department or the stores department how those things would have happened. I don't think that's just a PNM thing or the Minister of National Security. So again, I said I keep trying to find something. And what I would have said when I heard all this thing, we back to O'Halloran, unfortunately, and Pravat. That to just step back out and go back to the corruption of PNM as O'Halloran and Pravat. And again, I would tell them that O'Halloran's corruption had nothing to do with taxpayers' money. That had to do with contracts and getting 1% from the contracts. It wasn't taxpayers' money. And NAR, to their credit, would have, when they came into office, would have gotten back that money from O'Halloran that he had down in Panama. So it's just fishing to get something, and we'll continue to do it. We have to keep teaching the people. We have to keep telling them the truth at all forums. And this thing that they does of Ms. Kamala Persad-Bissassa from wherever she was, and just have her like a prop all over the place, or they're working too hard to show me that she all right. We know she's not all right, because we'll have said since in 2012, we'll have said she's a diabetic and she has hypertension. And we have heard stories of alcohol, drinking and drunk and fall down and all that. So we know if you have hypertension and you have diabetes and you're drinking alcohol, after years and years, it will take a toll on you. And I think it's taking a toll on Kamala Persad-Bissassa. So trying to dress you up and all them set of clothes where she walking on like she want to fall down, always have to grip onto the hand of her security officer. I want to tell that officer, thank you for your service, darling, because if he wasn't there as a crush for Kamala Persad-Bissassa, she'd have been cat spreader all over the place all the time. Thank you for your service, my dear. So again, I'm saying, Dominic, keep doing what you're doing. All the others, whether they're on social media, all those warriors, Ms. Diane Joseph, and all the others who are there, putting the truth forward, doing the research. Thank you all for your service, because it's a thankless job most of the time, but you do it for love of country and for patriotism. All those who call in on the radio station, giving the truth, putting it out there, all those in whatever way who are there fighting for the fact that a proper party, proper government is there to steer this country, which is the People's National Movement, whether you like it or not. When you look at the history of the UNC, whether under Mr. Pandey's time, whether under Kamala Persad-Bissassa time, and the PP government and all that would have happened. All the players who would have said she corrupt, she does lie, thief, and all these kind of things were said. And some people want to throw that behind a curtain and cover it up and just operate as if nothing has happened and let us move on. So we have to keep trotting through. We're going to get pushed back. We have to push back because I say again, people will push back if you're pushing on them, right? So we do know we know we're doing the right thing. That's why we get the pushback. So they can't fool. And in 2025, people will not be fooled. People will understand what they have to lose, bringing back in a UNC government who would have borrowed money from the Treasury to put in the Heritage and Stabilization Fund. And people want to challenge me to tell me that the UNCPP government save money. You can't save money when you just shift around funds, yeah? You can save money when they take the money from whatever was earned by the GDP or GNP and you actually put it in a plan. That is saving money, and the PNM has been able to do that when they came in, despite the fact they would have to use from it when we was going through COVID-19, and it was understandable because the country had shut down, the world had shut down. They had to pay public officers, recurring expenditure. They didn't send home nobody. Everybody was at home, who weren't emergency workers, at home collecting a salary and very happy, like myself, to get your money when the money come, and all you was doing is buying food with it. You couldn't buy clothes, you couldn't buy shoes, because we couldn't go nowhere. So it's mostly food, and I'm sure we were saving at the same time. That is why we saw in Tobago. Thank God for domestic tourism, because had it not been for Trinidadians, Tobago Carnival would have flown. The same people who did say they want up there and they won't come back, and the same people, Gianti and them, say suffering, go eat grass. We poor, we suffering, go eat grass. We poor, we suffering, go eat grass. Well, apparently, those who went to Tobago, they may not know that. So they have money to pay the light bills, they have the water bills, they have money to send the children to school, and everything is in order. Because those in Tobago like and themselves, yeah? So we are very fortunate. And finally, as I go, I want to tell Mr. Wall Street and Singapore. On Saturday, while up in Stanford Street and Orange Avenue, South Orange Avenue, there were lines of people around the block, line up waiting for food by a food bank in New Jersey, where he lives in New Jersey. People from Trinidad and Tobago was whining low in Tobago, having a good time, enjoying life. So he needs to look closer to home. I hope he was on Saturdays to give up food and help them, because that's where he's spending. His taxpayers' money is being spent in America, in New Jersey. So help those there, lines and lines and lines of people line up for food in that sweltering heat. Right up where you live in Wall Street. So I hope you're listening and you'll go and help them. Don't study we down here. We go fix you inside. So Dominic, you have a blessed day, and as usual, thank you for the opportunity for me to expatiate my whole self.
Thank you. Hello, good morning.
Hey, good morning, brother. How are you doing?
Hi, good man.
Yeah. Interesting take on the situation of the crime and so on, and the contribution of the honorable senator.
Yes.
But I wanted to give a perspective that many are not aware of. Right, Dom, and it's simply this: when you watch how the justice system is dysfunctional, a lot of it has to do with the appointments, and if we just have to look at the Caesar debacle.
Yes.
And hopefully, if the state doesn't, I hope that they wouldn't appeal and so it wouldn't reach all the way to the Privy Council, because that would be another blow. In my opinion, if it does reach here, how would we? I have no doubt that they will rule in her favor, and they will destroy our system. So, I would say the time has come for the way that the GLFC does it work to be different.
Yes.
Now, I'm not saying that all the public, the hearings should be public, because we clearly see that when I look at the US, that doesn't help, because all the people who are but when you watch the Supreme Court and how it's constituted now, with the bias towards conservative leaning judges, and when you heard some of them in the Senate hearings talk about the Roe versus Wade and so on, and saying that it was settled law, and because of the doctrine of stare decisis, it wouldn't be overturned. And then when you see how it was totally overturned by the appointment, particularly those made by President Bush, you know that someone could sit down and lie in your face, and you know what I mean, no consequences for them. And the fact that there is lifetime appointments, to me, that is a big problem, right? But the perspective I want to give is this: many of our judicial officers, magistrates, and judges were defense attorneys, a great many of them. And when you see how they operated, people should take some time and go and see how the thing operated in magistrate court and look at charting their side. And I will tell you that they have an inherent bias when you see them adjudicating cases where from the benches, particularly when they then have to accommodate them and undermine the work of the police prosecutors, particularly in the magistrate court, right? And because of that inherent bias, now for me, what we need to have is people who could demonstrate the ability to be fair and impartial, because that is what a judge is supposed to be. Magistrates are judges, and when you have all the new developments you have in the system, which is the civil procedure rules, now the criminal procedure rules. You heard the AG talk about the piece of legislation that coming that will radically transform the landscape on the horizon is the abolition of the preliminary inquiry.
Yes.
Right? And it is quite clear to me that this is a big part of it. That when you have people who would have defended persons, it is not a surprise to me that they would give people bail, even though they are charged, as you would have described and we would have seen in media. People being charged with multiple firearm offenses after being on charge for murder and other serious charges and woundings. And it totally put pains to the Honorable Senator's argument as an attorney at law that the presumption of innocence has to be found. No, in our situation, the safety security of the public has to be over these people where they have been charged with multiple offenses. I mean, this is not like a first-time offender. You can give them the benefit of the doubt. But when it clearly shows someone has a rap sheet from here to the carcass, come on, these are people you want to remain inside.
Yes.
And that's just common sense. But if you have a judicial officer who is not so minded, then what is the situation? And again, the word recusal. How many of our magistrates and judges who would have represented persons in their time as advocates would recuse themselves from matters when they come before them. Remember the big hue and cry over Justice Peterson to recuse herself from a matter where her husband was defending some of the persons and that kind of thing?
Yes.
Well, all right. And nothing in practice compels them so to do. Though, if you look at the upholding the high standards of the bar, it would be the correct thing to do. But then someone may then say that, hey, it will delay the system. And another thing about it, dumb too, is that the delaying tactics by defense counsel and in the courts is always by the defense. The prosecution always has to be ready. Always has to be ready. And when they are not ready, they are lambasted. However, when the defense is not ready, they get a lot of leeway, as far as I see. You understand what I'm saying? Like you would have said on Sunday, someone, a junior counsel can come and ask for a postponement because Mr. Romain has a matter in the Sanford and lower sizes, so he can't come. Or he might be on his legs in another court. And here it is, you are extended. Now we have several pieces of legislation in force now to help speed up the matter. You have judge alone trials for indictable matters. You have the feature of paper committal, where an accused person can tell his lawyer, listen, submit everything through paper and go straight to indictment. You have the option where, except for murder, someone could say, listen, I like to do my matter straight before a judge and jury. And that matter could be sent forward to the assizes and the matter put on the court list, and it will come up for trial, particularly where the evidence is overwhelming. But you know what? We have an industry of postponement. And when the matter is postponed, what happens, Dom? The lawyer has to be paid.
Correct. Yes.
Counsel has to be paid. And this is what goes on all the time. Some people hear about matters being going on for 13 years. So that is not just because of the fault of the state. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Right? There are many pieces of legislation, that could move the system along if people are allowed to access it. Another thing, you spoke about the sting operation with respect to all these seizures of firearms and drugs and so on, right?
Yes.
There's something called, in the two pieces of legislation concerned with us now in criminality, the Firearms Act, and Chapter 1601, and the Dangerous Drugs Act, Chapter 1125. In those two pieces of legislation, there's a clause, there's a tool of investigation available to the police and other law enforcement agencies called controlled delivery. What that means is that if we have information from our international partners that shipment X has left this port and is coming to Port of Spain, you allow it to come in, and even though it will slip through your system and so on, you red flag it. So the information is, a package is coming for Mr. Dominic Romain. We are aware that it may or may not contain illegal substances. The controlled delivery mechanism will allow that to come in, allow Mr. Romain to pick it up, and then you charge it. Right?
Yes.
And I don't know for the life of me why it is not employed more. No, I will correlate it now to the point you made about the shutting down of the sophisticated labs in SWOT and so on. Now, CU is up there, but CU is a shell of what was in place under SWOT. So what happens is that if you don't allow controlled delivery to take place, you may be able to lift fingerprint and DNA evidence from the items that are shipped. I don't know if you recall that sometime earlier on this year, 2 people were charged, and they were charged with the sending illegal substance federally and come in here.
Yes.
That is how those individuals were charged doubly. I have it on good authority that the DNA evidence was lifted and it was compared because these people's prints were in the system, and that is what happened. They were able to say, all right, we had them in point A and we had them in point B, charge them. That is the evidence. And perhaps if we allow more of that to go into our system, we could eliminate the part about corrupt police officers and we don't trust the police and so on.
Yes.
So I'm saying that this plays a large part in it. But if we want to see a higher success, it will be 13%, we must allow these kind of evidence to come forward and allow that to be more, instead of just the IC. All right, you had the situation in Belmont there that you spoke about, you had the one in Diego Market. And I am saying, right, that the plan for me is one to undermine the work of the government, but more importantly, is a kind of wrong, is a kind of underhanded lynching of Dominic.
Yes.
Because if you would observe, most of the people who access bail for murder and other serious crimes, where they now? They are now dead.
Correct.
And I am saying, to me, it seems to me that this is part of a nefarious plot to show a lesson. Oleka hang them by lawful means, but we will ensure that they will meet their demise. Because the reason why I'm saying that so strongly, I remember the crosstalk across the parliament that people must remember this. You know Snake?
Yes.
Monilal to Mr. Hines.
Yes.
And the testimony of the former commissioner before the Joint Select Committee, where he asked to have certain part of his evidence or his submission made in camera, in addition to what he would have said live. Remember that?
Yes.
He asked for that, and knowing you, Dominic, and the way you do research like myself, I am sure you will go back towards that on Palview, and you will see where the gentleman would have said that.
Snake up led for you.
Evidence, he will prefer to say that in camera.
Yes, yes.
And this was information that was given to him by the same internal police forces. But what does he come and do? And people who are touting him, he comes out now and speaks about special branch going to meetings and being able to get information. And what that is doing, all that is undermining the confidence of the public in the police service. You ought not to do that. I am saying, finally done. We castigate and criticize the police for the corruption all we want. But none of us can deny that the PSB is working.
Yes.
Isn't the head of the PSB facing charges now?
Correct. Correct, yes.
And the police service as a body has charged the most amount of its members by none. I'm saying that with complete confidence.
Right.
And perhaps you may want to do, going forward, a strategy on how undermining police work by having these amount of police officers before charges. Now, the serious charges, murder, serious corruption, money laundering, extorting money like the officer with the lady who was robbed and so on, of course, get rid of them.
Yes.
But not for trivial things like you didn't like how a police officer spoke to you when you were disrespectful to him or her first.
Yes.
And I'm saying we have to balance what we want in the work of the PSPCA and the PSB in helping us have our crime problem solved. Because recruitment alone wouldn't do it. Because even if you bring 1,000 people, Dominic, as it's touted next year in the recruitment, these people have to get the experience.
Right.
And if we're saying that we believe there are more scams than good police officers inside just to guide them, then we ain't making sense.
Correct.
Okay, my brother? I just wanted to give that perspective on your wholesome analysis this morning.
Appreciate it,
Take care, my brother.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well said. Well said. I mean, so Nikki's saying the judicial system needs an overhaul. Indeed. You see, one of the things that we have the lawyers who want to take multiple cases and tie up the judicial system. So cases are not being dispensed with in the time it should because, as I said on Sunday, one lawyer can be in multiple places at the same time. Whereas then these same lawyers ending up as judicial officers sitting on the bench as magistrates and judges. And when it is a part of a fraternity, you are just last week you were an attorney, this week you are a magistrate, and your colleague here is lying but come before you, right, and begging for indulgence for an adjournment on the matter, as the case may be. You gotta do. Now my partner, we have 3-4 cases right now I bugged down about five different cases I dealing with. I really can't deal with this matter now. You gotta deal with that. So how we fixing it? How we fixing it? That's the problem. When it is you're part of a fraternity, you can't help it. So in the meantime, the justice system is the way that it is. For years we keep saying, okay, people before the in remand. That's the, and really and truly, that in some cases that's the only justice the family members of victims get to know. Because when it is 10, 15 years past before this case called, and then these people come or the matter is dismissed because of lack of evidence or because witnesses no longer wish to testify, witnesses dead, or whatever the case may be. At least you could take some comfort in the fact that you have every reason to believe that this was the person that took the life of your loved one. And even though they weren't jailed for life or weren't sentenced to death, at least they spent about 15 years in prison. So there was some small iota of justice out of that. But that could never be enough. Hello, good morning. Yes, good morning.
Yeah, morning, Dominic.
Yes.
Morning to Jenny, morning to Good. And let me put my feet into the mix here now. Now, what I'm looking at, people are saying you're innocent until proven guilty, but they don't use the part in a court of law, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm saying that it doesn't mean that you're innocent.
Yeah.
You're not guilty, but you're also not innocent.
Yes.
Until presumed by a court of law. So you know how to take it. So let me look at the crime situation in Trinidad. A lot of people getting court charged and before the court and they getting bail. And let me know you zoom it into and out of murder. So you're bailing murderers.
Mm-hmm.
Before we used to look at murderers as murders with no bail, right?
Yes.
That's what the court used to do.
Mm-hmm.
Until Giant T and Anand Ramlogan of the UNC, right? Because they represent the UNC, they went as far as the Privy Council and get that little loophole and cause that out. Now, Giant T sits in the parliament as a member of parliament. And she complains about the crime.
Mm.
And the crime, and she can give you all the crime statistics.
Mm-hmm.
But what she does as a legislator, right? Because, and they're blaming the police, but to me, the police doing their job. If you, as a lawyer today, and then you go to the parliament tomorrow to ask the police the same question about the murderers and them, you blocking the law because to arrest and to hold anybody and to have them locked up and for a certain period of time and those things, you know, you need a special majority because it's called people have the constitutional rights. But we talk about criminals here.
Mm-hmm.
And I am saying, the police to charge you for you to reach in the court in the first place, they have to have good evidence.
Yes.
And then you know what? It's separated. It's not like the police to just charge you and go to court. The DPP's office have to review the case, review what they have before them. To look at what the police had, this and that and the other, and then they charge you. You also have a chance to defend yourself because you are innocent until the court proves you guilty. But when you listen to them, they abuse that part because apparently victims have no rights now. Because the thing that because what John is saying is that the police they set up people and the police could set you up and they could so they emphasize more on that and than the victims themselves getting no justice.
Yes.
And they blame the police, but the police is not to blame in cases like that. The system has to be fixed in a place that, you think that. I'm not saying that, police will get it wrong, or some police might spite somebody or something, so that the possibility exists. And it did exist. I don't have any facts on those things, but I'm saying possibility that did exist. But I can tell you something. Once you're wrongfully charged for those things, you're redressed. If a police do that and try to set you up on your thing and you win your case, you take redress. Because you can just sue the police commissioner and they say, well, we'll have to compensate you for whatever damages that has been done to you.
Yes.
So there are safeguards to prevent things like that. But when you listen to the UNC and GINT and them, they don't make sense in the contribution. They don't care. It's about, as Kamala said, for country first, and it's about you trying to show political points for the UNC, and the hell with the victims. The hell with the thing of crime, because it's the same criminals, and then they go to GINT and they have to get a bail and pay them too. And when they don't have the money, what they going to do with them? Because most of them will be broken, because when they get the money, it's blowing. It's not like when they steal money and stash it and start a business after and then come out there. They just do and spend money. Why? Let's say, like, what the rappers say? Get rich quick and die trying, and those things, that kind of attitude.
Yes.
So we have to look at it this way. When you're doing your programs, you don't study why I tell you, and then you'll be able to now present it in a much a better format and a better thing for other people to understand. Because I have a little issue of saying things for people to understand. Take my point of view. So I know you are better in doing that, but take a look at that into the people who you expect to assist in the crime fighting is actually the ones who fuel in the crime. Basically, that's my argument this morning, because you can't tell me as a lawyer, right, / politician. So you in the parliament and you in bills because your vote counts. Right, so you're powerful. But then when you go to the court, the same bill, the same explanation in your contribution, and you're saying you find the loopholes in what you said to get criminals off. And this is what irks me. This is what irks me. And everybody wants to just blame the commissioner of police, blame the national security minister, blame that. But I am seeing things working with the commissioner of police. Commissioner of police and her department is bringing criminals before the justice system. And there's a separation between two of them, because the commissioner of police can't go and say, hey, look at when a judge or a criminal, that's out of the commissioner of police hands. So hence the reason why the police and I will tell you that, sometimes it's better I don't hold them fellas and then leave them, let them do what they want, because we locking them up and they get bail. And right after they get bail and they come back out, the same perpetrator that we catch on the tail, they get a case against them, to put them before the court. They're coming back out and bail again. They get a case against them, to put them before the court. They're coming back out and bail again and repeat anything. But this time, they get a little more wiser, because they know who is on them and repeat anything. But this time, they get a little more wiser, because they know who is on them, how they're going to deal with them and everything. So they started to tweak the way they're doing the crimes. And the crime just keep they're just recycling crime. And who's to blame for that? The National Security Minister, the Prime Minister, the Police Commissioner, while the justice system with the court and the LA, especially LA, because all of them is a one bandwagon, like a lodge, a kind of cultist, kind of lodges, kind of thing. That's all they think. Every no who's going. They set up in the courts and they do the thing. And then the government gets the blame, the police, everybody else gets blamed. But you ever heard anybody blaming the court for anything? You just said about what's the logic in a judge or magistrate giving bail to a repeat offender? And why you giving them the bail if the police and them have matters against them in the other court? but you still giving the man bail. So something has to be wrong with within the justice system in LA. This is where we have to start looking. If you want to bring the crime rate down, that's the avenue there. We have to start looking at that and clean that up. But the government cannot dictate what goes on in the justice system, the judiciary, because there's a separation between them, between the government, which is the executive, and the judiciary. So Archie, he is trying, but the court decided they try to move him. They say all kind of thing about the man. They talk about the man who personal business in the bedroom. All these things, these lawyers, and you have to call them by the senior counsel name too. Because if they don't call them by the senior counsel name, they feel offended because they don't be a senior counsel. But that's the kind of nasty is happening in the judiciary among these guys and them. They sit quietly when such things happen, and then they come out with vengeance, and they can hear them talking all over the place when it is in their interest, because there's a party line, and that is a major problem. We should start thinking about judges, senior counsel, lawyers, and those things. They how to deal with them with the party alliance. You know, if they can't be aligned to any party or whatever, and now they will challenge you that because they have the right to it. But it is interfering with the work. It is interfering in the way justice is being dished out in the country, because you can't tell me that scale of justice is balanced at all. And this is where we have to look at. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Hello, good morning. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, morning.
Morning, Dominic.
Morning.
You must feel like Julia now. Tell some of them stick up in. You understand? Dominic,
Yes,
I
ma'am.
want to know how these young men who kill these 4 young guys in Belmont. I wonder how they're feeling to know that their own black brothers they got down for nothing.
Yes.
I wonder how they're feeling. If they have any feelings at all. Because if they have feelings, they're going to be doing that. Anyhow.
That's right. That's
You
right.
understand? I don't understand what it is really wrong with some of our blackheads. You know, I don't understand it, but or it's just for stupid talk, Dominic. That is what we reach to.
Yeah.
Taking people like Jeff for these 4 young guys just for because of some stupid talk. I don't understand. I don't know if you check people have parents whether it's go and sleep after they finish do what they have to do. I want the police to find them. I see police know where to find them, but I just don't know what it is that is taking place for them.
Yeah.
I feel that they're supposed to know where to find these young people. They must know.
But then you see, when the police find them, they get bail in 2 days.
But they have to find someone
Yeah.
to deal with, because I don't understand. When they're taking all the black people life just for stupidness, because it's really hard for them to know. Young guys lost their life for stupidness. Right? I hope the police can really find them and find them. You have a blessed day, and can't you tell some of them stick a pin? You have a blessed day.
You too. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I as I said, when you look at the level of violence, how they went about doing what they did. I mean, it's not all small. You shoot these guys and you make sure you kill them. You use your AR-15 or whatever, and then went up and get them headshots. So you're making it even difficult for them to have an open casket, for their family to say goodbye. It's ridiculous. Hello, good morning.
Yes, Tommy again.
Yes.
I have an issue, right? They blame the PNM for crime. But ask me who was doing treaty? If the criminals are the Prime Minister's child, who was doing treaty? Boys is saying.
Yes.
Right? As I told them, they're Kamna's children. In 2011, Ava Alexander killed a child there. She was 14 months old. He raped and killed on the Kamna tenure. How it quiet? But you bring up private all around. Isn't it past too? It bring up colder heart. If PNM have chosen murderers, well, come and guess what? Asman killed a 14-month-old child whose essence and fragrance was formed. He killed parents, he killed siblings, tortured. All they want to blame? 27, that a walk in the park. A friend of mine, Cornwell, was killed. You know how? Because a young man broke a traffic light doing the SOE and killed my friend who was doing his job. He went away, but it's silent. You know why? Because one of UNC people kind killed my friend.
Yes.
He slept on his Nation Road. And I'll say it again. She said if she lost the election, blood will flow like water. Explain to me what that was. Now, if you come by me for lunch, I'm cooking so and so. I'm not sure if you're coming. So tell me if you're coming for lunch. I know you eat shrimp or pork. If I'm not sure.
Right.
So the if wasn't if you were the election, you were sure, right? Kamala had you on. Would blood not flow?
Correct.
Is that what you say? How UNC members don't hear that? Well, if I lose, Kamala, they call you that means demigod, right? If you are God, Kamala, you should have won back to back. So what you say is because you lost elections those 2 years before like water, you are part of the crime. And who next? I don't get a rat and I'm old enough to say what to say. She knew what she meant. And I hope when it chicken lay on your head, Kamala, and when the next 7 toes gone, you know why? Because you're playing a game, and you're just evil. You remember Jim Jones? UNC is Jim Jones in this nation. Because if you're watching followers, Kamala innocent. She's a mother. I can't use those words in the public. She's a mother of what? If your mother, let me tell you, a mommy rather, a mother gets birthed, but a mommy carries a child in their heart. That means every child that Pinko brings, you're going to love. Yes, love your own,
Yes.
But as a mommy, your interest is your neighbor's children. Kamala's partnership is UNC. Her flag is yellow. It's all about me. You are fit to rule. Anybody who was back in power, like Bacchanal. They like it so. Don't have a good year, not going once again, my love.
Thank you so much. I see Shelton is saying, is who bringing in the guns? Where are these guns coming from? Drugs and guns rule this place. The guns and the drugs may be used by the urban youth, but they are not responsible for it entering the country. Very true. Very, very true. Who has the financial capital to be importing this stuff? And what is the distribution network? How is it reaching in the hands of these urban youth? Yeah? Who dealing in the white collar crime, the fraud, that answer bank situation? I am surprised that Mr. Saga and they have allowed, well, not allowed, but such a thing could have happened under them, given the fact that they are captains of industry, own so many businesses. But I guess when you have too much money, you don't miss it. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, sir. Good morning to all the listeners and the viewers of this program this morning. Now, after answered, we must call her there. Kamala is not a mother. Kamala is a mother harlot.
Oh, Lord.
Right? And I am saying that because to behave in that manner, you deserve that name. You know why? Because if you was so a loving mother, you'd have never let your children go astray. So 5 years, 3 months, and 14 days you spend as a prime minister in this country, right? A lot of corruption, a lot of vindictiveness, right? A lot of racial discrimination took place under your tenure. And what you did? Prior to 2010, just what the last caller said, if she failed, blood will flow on the streets. You come 13 years later, load up the matic, empty the clip, knock it again, empty the clip. Who were you speaking to? Not the population. Your tone, your undertone was the underworld. That is why now, watch it at this present time, and you're wondering why that the country is invested in now. The law association in this country, who had it? Who heads the law association in this country? A East Indian, right? Who had the supermarket association in Trinidad and Tobago? A East Indian, right? Who had the medical board of Trinidad and Tobago? A East Indian. Who had this school? I think it's a school, some school accommodated as the school back in the school union. A East Indian. So in other words, what did that alone tell you? You understand what I'm showing you? What that alone tell you? So in other words, the Afro-Trinbagonian in this country have no say whatsoever. And why is that? Where is Kafra born? Where is Kafra born? You only see me once a year. And it's only Emancipation Day. Right? David Mohammed is a waste of time. Right? The next one come up until MSJ, NJAC. Prior to 2010, right, that all these sort of murders taking place up and down the country amongst the Afro-Trinbagonians in this country. Where were your voices then? Right? 2010, when they joined up like a crab in a barrel, you had a voice back then, and all they joined up to vote on the PNM because all they find it had too much of crime, kidnapping, this, that, the other, right? So you join up with the basket of the parables as it has done. Listen a minute. All right. Why is your stint inside of there? Right? You came out and said to the national public that you never see corruption so in that party that was there for 5 years, 40 months, and 3 months and 14 days. You said that God was his soul. So you see, you came out and said, so where were you when the African in this country needed you the most? But we want to talk and we want to say all kind of thing. That is why the East Indians in this country will always have the upper hand. You know why? Because they have the people in different boards in the country. The Law Association is one of the most corrupted cults inside of this country called Trinidad and Tobago. The Law Association. And they are predominantly Indian based. So if Jai no lie, if Jai no lal, lal no Bihari, and so they go in. So if Jai want to represent me, I will go he will go the distance, even though if it's a military system, if it's a cause to stall the process, and if Jai no the magistrate, they will have a conversation prior or after based on the outcome of the matter. That is how the system operates in this country, is who know who. That when the crime situation in a total mess and they want to blame the Minister of National Security, the prime, they blame everybody else other than the law association in this country. It have police, right, Dominic? Police officers that work the skin off in this country. Now, I ain't saying it have, if I have a little, it have one or two but I put in the bunch. We ain't saying no, right? But it have police who does sacrifice their time. If they know this person commit this crime, they will make sure and do what they have to do to charge this person, bring them for the courts, right? And then now, when they come before the magistrates, knowing that it's not the first time, the second time, or the third time, the magistrate fully well knew the history of this offender, and they will still give him bail to walk outside free, to commit the same crime that he did prior. That's why we have Gianti and Anna Ramlogan. Anna Ramlogan should never be practicing law in this country after with that corruption in that under that partnership in 2010. Anna Ramlogan should have never practiced any law in this country because you have a lot of questions to answer. But then again, Dominic, it's whatever goes in Trinidad. We like it so. You understand? If it was any other part of the world, his legislative practicing law would have ceased until the investigation or whatever completed, and then you're able to start back from scratch. You out of office, you get charged, awaiting the outcome, and then you still practicing law. So you have Gianti and them coming now to try to whine with you to cause problem in the country. Petitioning to make murder a billable offense. And all the PNM this and they can't fight that. So if you as a lawyer petition the court to make the council, whether you all went to make murder a billable offense, whether the police service. So if a police officer charge a person for murder and they know they kill that person and that person brought before the court, the rest will get them bail to come back out to do the same murder. Let me make it make sense. And this is what the country is enduring right now. This is what the country is enduring right now because it have people find satisfaction in the criminal behavior in this country. Now, we ain't saying only murder alone is criminal. It have robberies, it have rapes, it have home invasion, it have all these things. But the opposition in this country, or the opposition forces, trying to give the perception that the murders is amongst the predominantly African-based PNM stronghold areas. But like they realize whether the quadruple murder down in Penal, they forget that. They forget the quadruple murder down in Penal. Look right now, it's about videos on social media. Some prominent DJ, peace up his wife. Where's the Sheila? Because apparently the DJ and the wife is not of my caliber. What the leader? No, you're talking about that. That is always it. Dominic demonstrates about party and their people. Once they don't look like them, you're in problems. And I am telling Trinidadian to Begonian this morning, you see, come 2025, if all you make the mistake and put them people back there. It's no self. You see how we did I say we don't eat grass? And you know we hungry, we starving? Well, it's no self. Or they think, or that doctor already it was bad. Right now they have cameras and window dressing because cameras are evil. Right? Munilal and them in the background pushing camera because they want to see the matter for the 2025 election. So they're pushing she in front. Right? But when for the election, they go sideline camera. Just for the day 2010, when she had the 5-day weekend, I was contracts going and coming up and down the country. And millions of dollars going down the drain, thief, squandered. That is the same thing that what's going to happen in 2025. But what's going to happen in 2025. But we as the population in this country, the electorate have to know where we stand. And it's either you want the country to go forward 5 years from 2025 going forward, or you have to continue with what transpired the last 14 years and listening.
Thank you, sir. Right, so it is 9:05, folks. Yeah, so my usual cutoff time is 9 o'clock. So let me thank you all for joining me this morning. I'm going to do the paperwork, but before I do so, I see someone by the name of Indra. What is it? No, see. Pinky, Indra Pinky is saying you all are portraying hate. And then she said that if there wasn't a camera, we would create one. You see, that's the problem. That's the problem right there. You all refuse because Kamala is all your goddess, all your queen, all your Maharani, whatever it is you want to call her. Refuse to put blame where it needs to be ascribed. Because the fact of the matter is, you all are lamenting the state of crime the most in the country. Home invasion thing, right thing, they're attacking this one and that one and all of that. But refuse to accept the contribution that your political leader and the other 18 members of parliament on the opposition bench are making towards crime in this country. It is not the PNM that went to the courts and overturned a law that was over 100 years old, making murder a non-bailable offense. And the fact of the matter is that, as we said before, several of these people who are getting bail for murder are coming out of prison where they should have been there for the next how many donkey years, are outside free today to be able to commit these heinous crimes because of the work of Jayanti Lakshmidiyal and Anand Ram Logan. And I asked the question, they saw it fit to do this when the PNM was in power. Why didn't Anand Ram Logan, when he was Attorney General, bring a law or an amendment to the law to make murder a bailable offense when he was Attorney General? Why didn't Jayanti Lakshmidiyal do that and the other attorneys? Why didn't they do that between 2010 to 2015 when Akini Charles was now in prison for a year or two? Why did they wait until he was in prison for 9 years to come and petition the court to make murder a bailable offense? Why didn't all of them now who advocating about the presumption of innocence and the right to access bail, why did they in 2012, 2013, when they put the sunset clause in the bail amendment bill to deny bail for 120 days in the first instance for gun crimes, why did they do that? Jayanti didn't believe in the right to access bail then. She didn't believe in the presumption of innocence then. But under the PNM, all of a sudden, she grew a conscience. All of a sudden, she realizes, and the rest of them, they realize why it is we need to have the presumption of innocence. So let us create opportunities now under the PNM for these criminals to come outside and to continue to engage in a life of crime so that the government could look bad, the PNM could look bad, and we could push the narrative that under the PNM, crime always goes up. Murders galore. Your own loved ones getting killed, but the people who are facilitating an environment to be able to allow that to happen, well, you refuse to blame them for what it is that they're doing. So we pushing hate. What hate it is? You know what we hate, Indra? Let me tell you what we hate. We hate what it is your party, the leadership of your party is doing to our country. We hate every time we pick up a newspaper. Every time we pick up a newspaper and read that somebody who was in jail for murder get bail because of what Jayanti Lakshmidiyal and And then for that. We hate that it have a man sitting in our parliament who is the chief whip, is bail, $1 million bail for fraud and misbehavior in public office. That is what we hate. We hate that since 2009, we had a man, a UNC lawyer who eventually became a senator, that he is accused of copying and pasting witness statements to defraud the state, taking millions of dollars in taxpayers' money based on lies, getting prisoners to state things that didn't happen so they could go and sue the state for millions of dollars. Monies that have gone to the average citizen in this country to help them out. All always talking about who poor and who's suffering and how much this and who and all of that. You know what we hate? We hate that since 2009, not 2009, sorry, 2014, 9 years now, up to now, that investigation is still going on. 9 years to investigate 2 lawyers, 2 UNC lawyers, who was robbing the blind. But all they studying about Foster Cummins and how much money Foster borrowed from the credit union. But you're not concerned that 9 years later, these individuals have not come to justice. You know what we hate? You know the hate we pushing? We hate for the fact that these UNC attorneys should be behind bars for giving big legal briefs and soliciting kickback to the tune of 10% of the brief. You know what we hate? We hate the fact that you have one of these attorneys who was given the briefs is telling us that this man had so much money that while you have people in this country, as well, they like to say suffering and suffering, right? Why they suffering? That you have an attorney could say this man have so much money that he could afford to break down a whole wing in his house because he didn't like how it looked and bill it over on taxpayers' money. That is the hate we pushing. Things that you all condone, and because it happened under the watch of your leader and in your party, well, you have nothing to say about that. You know what the hate we pushing? For the fact that we had the Minister of Housing tell us $789 million of housing missing, cannot be found, fake housing, and you all have nothing to say on that. Nobody from that administration has since come out to say one word, to proffer one explanation as to where these houses could be. But all you're talking about, A.V. drilling 100 million, 789 million in housing cannot be found, and all you have nothing to say. Not one word. You all wouldn't come on social media and talk about that and say you want your 789 million, but you want back your 100 million from A.V. drilling. And talking about $11 million spent on a commission of inquiry that didn't start yet, but $123 million extra pay for piece of land, state land, and you'll have nothing to say about that. Have never commented on it, never spoken on it, but everything is P&M. Well, you know, Rowley must go and Hines must go. Rowley must go and Hines must go, but have nothing else to say. But we push in hate. You all are the ones, one Doglaya politics, doubles and coffee. When it is that you have a man who's sitting as a UNC senator, could come and do a video and talk and with the caption, Black versus Indian, who better? And then give a narrative about you have a man courting 2 women, and you have one who's an African woman, and she's a user, and she wants to go to the best restaurants and spend money on her to buy hair and nails and all of this and whatnot. And opposite, you have the East Indian woman who's supporting the man. And she and him spend his money, and she helping him out and sitting with his children and doing homework and picking up the kids and so on and whatnot. Right? Pitting Africans against East Indians and asking the question, who better? You all complain about that? No, but Oli will go on his page and share that trash thousands of times and comment, yes, and they'll get them. Well done. That is the hate that we push. The hate for that kind of foolishness that you all support and endorse and share and encourage. That is the hate that we push in Indra. Not so miss us with that BS this morning from a please. Right? At the end of the day, the only reason why criminals, murderers, accused could get bail now is because of UNC attorneys and UNC parliamentarians. And we're bolting that to all your chest. So every time you see somebody out on bail for murder and you hear the police catch them with home invasion or they kill somebody else, that is on you all. Because you all came up with some stupid argument to defend that nonsense. But what if they're innocent? And suppose they're innocent. What is the data? What are the odds that they're innocent? Okay, so what if they're innocent? They get bail. But then they end up before the court on 2 and 3 other charges after they get bail, and you still want to come and tell me nonsense about the innocent? Look, miss me with that nonsense this morning. Eh? Folks, thank you so much. So much. I'm tired of this nonsense and this foolishness that all coming, but continue to push that. continue to support that. But the right-thinking citizens of this country, we know better. We know better, right? And if we figure that putting back Gary there as commissioner of police will solve the crime, well, I'll go ahead and continue to think so. But that ain't going to happen under this administration. It's not going to happen. And unless we start to call out your parliamentarians to book and the politicians from that party to book for the nonsense that they continue to do and support, it is their lawyers who getting them off. Just know the 9 people accused of killing Vindra Naipal Coolman, it is a UNC attorney that asking the court to give them 3.5 million each. Not a PNM attorney, Indra. Not a PNM attorney, right? So just take that into consideration. And most of these criminals, when it is they're looking for lawyer, they are looking for PNM lawyers. In fact, if you know 5 lawyers who you can identify as PNM lawyers, you know plenty. But we know the whole gamut of them who identify as UNC. Yeah? Because the name every time a criminal get off and you look at the names, it's the same names. Same names. Look. Anyway, folks, thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day. And God's willing, we will chat again on Thursday. Yeah? 6:30 a.m. Don't miss it. I'm sure there's going to be developments between now and then for us to talk about. Yeah, there's my blood pressure a little bit this morning, but that's all right. That's okay. I can manage it. Thank you, guys. Sandra G. Thomas, Merle Durant, you're most welcome. Maria Lyons, bye-bye. Patricia McKenzie, Mikkel, David Clark. Who else? Anon. Yes, prison gate where criminals getting millions. They ain't talking about it. Winston Jack, thank you, sir. Jennifer Nathan, Agnes Mondesir, Diona Ryan, Ramtahal. Yes. So enjoy your day and make it a productive one, and God's willing. Thank you, Desh. Yes, Desh, I'm going to drink some water, maybe some cranberry juice. Yeah, they're real help sometimes. All right, folks. And Diane Mohammed, thank you.